after hearing that the wealthy young lady announced she was looking for a boyfriend who likes wearing suits. My good bro spent a fortune on a few high-end suits. He even asked me to lip-sync for him at the campus singing competition to catch her attention. Too bad he didn't know that the young lady is my childhood friend. When she said she wanted a boyfriend in a suit, she was actually hinting at me. But in my past life, I didn't know that. To marry the green tea campus belle, I relentlessly fell out with my family and even angered my childhood friends so much that she went abroad. After I finally married the campus belle as I wished, I exhausted all my family's resources to pave the way for her. But on the day she finally made it big, she publicly announced that her boyfriend was my bro, and during our confrontation, I was kicked down the stairs by him. I died right on the spot. When I opened my eyes again, I had actually returned to the exact moment my bro begged me to lip-sync for him. I immediately nodded and agreed. Then I turned around and asked my childhood friend out. I ran to our meeting spot, panting heavily. Mu Xinwan was already there. She was leaning against the cherry blossom tree, her long legs casually crossed. She looked so beautiful and carefree. I tiptoed up behind her, just about to sneak attack the back of her head, when she suddenly grabbed my wrist with a backhand catch. Mu Xinwan snapped her eyes open. My reflection was mirrored in those lazy dark eyes. Yang Jian, who are you trying to sneak attack? I was completely stunned. Weren't your eyes closed the whole time? She scoffed. Even with my eyes closed, I can smell you from a mile away. Who are you calling a dog? The corner of her mouth curled up, and her expression instantly changed. I'm complimenting you. Such a sharp sense of smell. She sat up straight. Spit it out. What's the occasion for asking me out? I immediately put on a flattering smile and told her all about my plan to prank my bro at the campus singing competition. After all, to bypass the student council and the security cameras, I absolutely needed this wealthy young lady's help. I thought she would hesitate for a second, but who knew she'd nod and agree without a second thought? She was so straightforward about it. Isn't she curious? Why I suddenly want to mess with my bro? Mu Xinwan seemed to see right through my thoughts. She raised her hand and gave my head a light smack. You heartless jerk. Every time you got into trouble, wasn't I the one keeping watch? When you climbed walls, I was your stepping stone. Even if you wanted to kill someone, I'd hand you the knife. What's this little favor to me? Her eyes locked onto me tightly. I instantly remembered the moment right before I died, and her heart-wrenching scream. Yang Jian, if you dare to die, even if you go to hell, I'll find you. My nose stung, and my eyes grew hot. My voice trembled. Mu Xinwan, you're so good to me. The tips of her ears instantly turned bright red. She coughed unnaturally. Since I'm so good to you, shouldn't you give me a substantial reward? I subconsciously asked. What reward? A wicked smirk curled on her lips. Be a good boy and call me sis like you did yesterday. She seemed to have a soft spot for that title. At that moment, I was so overwhelmed with emotion that I looked at her with absolute sincerity. How about I just acknowledge you as my actual sister? You're way better than my real sister. Who knew? Her face would instantly darken. She immediately rejected it flat out. No way, I pouted. Why not? Are you afraid I'll covet your family's fortune? Mu Xinwan scoffed. If you want to covet my family's fortune, you don't need to be my sister. There's a much faster, easier, and perfectly legal way. After saying that, she stopped talking and just kept giving me that wicked smirk. I was just about to turn and run, but she grabbed me, pulling me so hard I almost fell into her arms. Her dark eyelashes lowered, hiding the deep emotion in her eyes. She lowered her voice. If you don't want to call me Sis Wan, that's fine. Then call me Big Sister Wan. I violently shivered. Big Sister Wan? No matter how you hear it, it sounds like calling a sugar mommy. I instantly got goosebumps all over. You're so gross. I accidentally blurted out my inner thoughts. Mu Xinwan raised her long eyebrows slightly. When you were begging me for a favor yesterday, why didn't you think it was gross? I could only laugh awkwardly. Times change, you know? She scoffed lightly. Fine. If you won't say it, forget it. I'll put this reward on your tab. You owe me a huge favor now. I immediately went into full drama queen mode, putting on a heartbroken expression. Mu Xinwan, you've changed. You're actually negotiating terms for such a tiny favor. She chuckled softly and reached out to pluck a cherry blossom petal from my hair. I understood. She was using her own way to remind me not to be fooled by that scumbag and that bitch again. Soon, the day of the campus singing competition finals arrived. Juanbi, wearing his newly bought white shirt, was frantically bombing me with messages backstage. Today, you have to bring out your absolute best for me. You need to stun the whole crowd the moment you open your mouth. At this very moment, I was looking at the two custom-made suits in front of me. Mr. Yang, this suit comes in black and white. Which one do you prefer? I didn't even bother to look up and just decided. I'll take the black one. Then I moved my fingers and replied to Juanbi. Don't worry. I guarantee I'll blow the roof off this place. I hid in a secluded corner backstage, staring at the large monitor screen in front of me. The venue was packed with people, and the atmosphere was absolutely electric. Right then, Juanbi secretly peeked through the curtain, looking at the student council president, Hao Shusheng, in the second row. He also saw Mu Xinwan, who had been personally escorted to the first row by the principal. The surprise and smugness on his face were practically bursting out of the screen. He even looked down to adjust his collar. Seeing his confident, "Victory is mine" expression, I couldn't help but sneer. The real show is just getting started. Next up, please welcome our final contestant. The host's announcement echoed through the hall. I leaned into the microphone and softly sang the first note. My ethereal voice instantly captivated everyone in the audience. The entire crowd was stunned. The effect was absolutely breathtaking from the very first note. Even Su Fei, who didn't care much for music, suddenly shot up from her seat. Beside her, Mu Xinwan closed her eyes, her face full of intoxicating enjoyment. Hao Xusheng also jerked her head up, her eyes filled with disbelief. Meanwhile, on stage, Ai Zhuangbi was shamelessly soaking in the applause and praise that didn't belong to him. He even struck a handsome pose, completely lost in himself. Just as the song was about to hit its climax, I abruptly clamped my mouth shut. The singing stopped dead. What's going on? Why did the sound suddenly cut out? The audience instantly broke into a commotion. Ai Zhuangbi's face turned deathly pale. His mouth was still moving, but not a single sound came out. The organizers quickly sent someone rushing on stage to check the mic. Hello? Hello? That's weird. There's nothing wrong with his microphone. Ai Zhuangbi completely panicked. He incoherently shouted, "Please pause for 10 minutes. After saying that, he desperately shot me pleading looks for help. But the exact second he opened his mouth to speak, the singing voice echoed through the hall once again. At that moment, the entire venue exploded. Ai Zhuangbi's mouth was clearly shut tight, yet that ethereal singing was still going. What the hell is going on? He's lip-syncing, isn't he? No, this isn't just lip-syncing. Someone is singing for him backstage. Oh my god, this is a massive scandal. Tell us right now, who's singing for him? The whole crowd was in an absolute uproar. Everyone was shouting and demanding answers. Ai Zhuangbi's face went from beet red to ghost white. He looked like he wanted the ground to swallow him whole. Just as he turned around to run away, the main stage curtains slowly pulled apart. I made a grand entrance, accompanied by the singing. I was wearing a perfectly tailored black suit. My tall, straight posture and long legs looked so handsome under the spotlight that people couldn't look away. Oh my god, he's way too handsome. He looks even better than a celebrity. Isn't that the campus idol Yang Jian? He's handsome and has a sweet voice. He's literally the face of our university. In the audience, Su Fei was completely dumbfounded. She finally realized why Mu Xinwan had broken her own rules for me. She subconsciously turned her head, and sure enough, she saw that Mu Xinwan had opened her eyes at some point and was staring at me with a burning gaze. It was as if she was completely mesmerized. She immediately got mischievous and started teasing her. Sis Wan, didn't you say you only liked guys in white shirts? How come you've fallen for a guy in a black suit now? Who knew Mu Xinwan would just shoot her a calm glance? Today, I happen to like guys in black suits. Su Fei burst out laughing on the spot. But from Mu Xinwan's eyes I could see an intense possessiveness. It wasn't just admiration, it was a look that wanted to swallow me whole. A gaze that wanted to eat me alive, as if I was her personal treasure. It was actually Yang Jian singing. In the front row, Qian Duoduo looked at Hao Xusheng in utter shock. Hao Xuesheng's eyes were also dead set on me. Qian Duoduo immediately started loudly teasing her. Hao Xuesheng, you're seriously so lucky. The whole school knows that the campus idol, Yang Jian, is chasing you. This song today was definitely sung just for you, right? Tell the truth. Do you really not feel anything for him at all? As the song neared its end, my eyes searched the crowd for Mu Xinwan. I accidentally swept my gaze past Hao Xuesheng. She immediately looked away, turned her face, and coldly spat out 2 words. I don't. As the final note dropped, I finally found Mu Xinwan in the crowd. I waved at her enthusiastically, smiling brighter than the sun. The girl in the first row also gently curled her lips, as if silently replying to me. I love you too. The cheers in the venue rose higher and higher in waves. Yang Jian is the champion. Ai Zhuangbi's face was as pale as a ghost. His eyes looked like he wanted to slice me into 1,000 pieces. He finally understood. This whole thing, from start to finish, was a trap I set up. I just wanted to turn him into a clown that everyone despised. Right then, the organizer walked on stage with a confused look and asked me, "Excuse me, student, why were you singing for contestant Ai Zhuangbi?" I smiled exceptionally brightly at the camera. I wasn't lip-syncing for him. Ai Zhuangbi glared at me viciously, but I didn't even spare him a glance. I looked at the camera and enunciated every word clearly. This was just a stage design. I picked up the microphone and announced on the spot. This wasn't some lip-syncing act at all, but a stage performance I planned, based on the recent fake goods news. As soon as I said that, I dropped a massive bombshell. Furthermore, contestant number 999 has been me all along, right from the auditions. The entire venue instantly erupted into chaos. I turned to look at Ai Zhuangbi, who was trembling with rage beside me, and deliberately leaned into his ear, whispering, I improvised like this. You're not mad, are you? Ai Zhuangbi gritted his teeth in fury, but couldn't squeeze out a single word. I shoved the microphone right up to his mouth and publicly pressed him. Isn't that right? If he dared to say no, he'd be admitting to cheating on the spot, and he could just wait to be expelled. After a long while, he finally forced a single word through his teeth. Yes. And so, I took the championship without any suspense. During the awards ceremony, everyone crowded around me asking for photos. Ai Zhuangbi couldn't bear the humiliation any longer. He covered his face and ran off the stage crying. I watched his pathetic retreating figure, and a smirk curled on my lips. This felt way better than winning a trophy. Who knew that as soon as he ran past Hao Xusheng, the woman I loved to the bone in my past life, she actually stood up and chased after him. But at that exact same second, Mu Xinwan in the first row also abruptly stood up. She didn't even glance at that out-of-tune couple. She walked straight through the crowd, stepping onto the stage step by step, coming right toward me. Congratulations. In front of everyone, she generously opened her arms and gave me a hug. Who knew she'd hold on to me for several seconds, refusing to let go. I felt something pressing against me. I looked down curiously and saw it was an exquisite champagne-colored gift box. Mu-sin-won then reluctantly let go of me. I opened the gift box. Inside were vibrant, fresh flowers and a small card. Long live the little champion. I looked up at her in surprise. How did you know I would definitely win? She raised an eyebrow as if it were obvious and asked back, aren't you the best at everything you do? Oh boy, you've got a good eye. We smiled and took a photo together. Then she suddenly leaned into my ear and whispered, do you have plans tonight? It's time to repay your favor. When I went to meet her that night, I was so hungry my stomach was touching my back. I really regretted not setting the meeting place at a restaurant. I didn't expect that as soon as we met, Mu-sin-won would pull out a transparent gift box from behind her back, like magic, filled with all my favorite snacks. I excitedly opened a chestnut Mont Blanc. The familiar soft and sweet taste instantly warmed my heart. In my past life, I chased after Hao Xuexing and gave her my whole heart, but she never once cherished it. But now, someone was giving me flowers for my success, someone was silently remembering all my preferences and caring enough to buy them all for me. I was just soaking in this feeling of being pampered when Mu-sin-won suddenly leaned in. Her gaze crashed directly into my eyes. Those eyes were still misted with a bit of moisture, as if an entire galaxy had fallen into them, and every single star reflected my face. This look of hers, with her heart and eyes completely full of me. What exactly was going on? I couldn't help but lower my voice and mutter, Mu-sin-won, how can you be so good to me? As soon as I said that, I couldn't control my urge to get closer to her, but she suddenly reached out and covered my eyes. What are you doing? Her voice was noticeably flustered, yet she still tried to act calm as she asked me, why have you been looking at me like that lately? Oh crap, was I being that obvious? I rolled my eyes and immediately started making excuses, because I realized you seemed to be getting prettier and prettier. She actually chuckled and replied, your taste is improving pretty fast, huh? You're just a little late to notice. I've always been this beautiful. What a narcissist. I smiled and scooped a big spoonful of Mont Blanc into my mouth, but my heart felt as sweet as if it were filled with honey. I suddenly remembered something and looked up to ask her, oh right, what exactly is the reward you wanted? She stared at me intently and enunciated every word. Be my baby. What? Cough, cough. I instantly choked on a mouthful of chestnut puree, coughing my lungs out. Mu-sin-won just slowly patted my back, leaned into my ear, and chuckled. I meant my volleyball cheerleader. Baby, what were you just thinking about? My face instantly flushed bright red. I glared at her, both embarrassed and annoyed. You're the one who phrased it so misleadingly. She just chuckled softly, and then explained, our business school is organizing a friendly match between the International Trade Department and the Finance Department. It's next Wednesday. When she mentioned the words, Finance Department, she deliberately paused for a second, as if observing my reaction. I just replied casually, it's just cheering, right? Piece of cake. Anyway, no matter who's on the other side, I'll always be on your side. She froze instantly. After a long while, she turned her head away, unable to hide the smile on her lips. What is this silly girl secretly so happy about? At 10 p.m., I pushed open my dorm room door. I thought I'd be met with a full-blown interrogation, but to my surprise, Nantong and Xiaogu were acting normal. Zhuangbi deliberately bragged loudly. Hao Xuexing agreed to let me go cheer for her. Yang Jian, make sure you don't show up at the game. There will be too many beautiful girls. I'm afraid your heart won't be able to take it. Nantong and Xiaogu immediately shot me sympathetic looks, but I felt absolutely nothing. So this was why Mu-sin-won let me see the roster in advance. Seeing that I had no reaction, Zhuangbi curled his lips into a mocking sneer. He definitely thought my heart was bleeding from sadness, but he had no idea that the real show was just getting started. The green field was packed with people. Everyone was anticipating the head-to-head clash between Mu-sin-won and Hao Xuexing. As the music started playing, Zhuangbi organized the whole class into a formation, just getting ready to shout their cheers. But the next second, as soon as our international trade team stepped onto the field, the whole crowd instantly exploded. Zhuangbi and his group had no choice but to walk to the left half of the court. Hao Xuexing's gaze, however, looked right past them, as if searching for someone in the crowd. Meanwhile, on our side, Su Fei was jumping up and down in anxiety, constantly urging Mu-sin-won, where is your volleyball cheerleader? The other side has already started waving flags and shouting. Why is there no action on our side at all? But Mu-sin-won just tossed the volleyball in her hands, looking completely unbothered. What's the rush? Su Fei instantly lost it. What's the point of just acting cool? Where's your baby? Just as she said that, the entire venue suddenly erupted into tsunami-like screams. Everyone's eyes turned in unison toward the same direction. Wearing a simple white shirt and black pants, I walked over from the dorms, bathed in the sunlight. Maybe because I came in such a hurry, my bangs were still a bit wet, and my white shirt was slightly soaked with sweat, clinging to my body, faintly outlining my solid muscle lines. The whole crowd instantly boiled over. Oh my god, he's way too handsome. This is the true ultimate first love idol of our school. Su Fei was completely dumbfounded. Last time he was a cold, dark night. This time he's a pure, innocent white moonlight. The campus idol style is way too versatile. She and Duo excitedly grabbed Hao Xuexing's arm. Xuexing, "Look, the campus idol is here to cheer for you. You have so much face." But Hao Shusheng just looked at me calmly, her eyes filled with the confidence that everything was under her control. On the other side, Ai Juangbi's face turned green the moment he saw me. "Yang Jian, why is he here?" His eyes were full of contempt, clearly assuming I was here to shamelessly throw myself at Hao Shusheng. So Ai Juangbi immediately grabbed his pom-poms and walked toward Hao Shusheng, ready to watch me make a fool of myself. Meanwhile, Mu Xinwan simply tossed aside her volleyball, her burning gaze locked tightly onto me, and a smile curled on her lips. "My baby is here." Su Fei's face was full of question marks. "What the heck? This?" Just as I was walking toward the finance department's team, Ai Juangbi predictably couldn't hold back from speaking up. "Yang Jian, I don't think our finance department cheer squad invited you. Showing up uninvited like this, you really are." Beside him, Su Fei also shook her head, wearing a look that said she was ready to watch me cause a scene. I couldn't be bothered with these two extras. I didn't stop walking, treating Hao Shuasheng and her group like thin air, and turned straight toward the International Trade Department's side of the court. The entire audience instantly short-circuited. Everyone looked completely bewildered. I guess everyone had just assumed I was here specifically to cheer for Hao Shusheng. Su Fei's pupils were practically quaking, her face full of disbelief. I stopped in front of the international trade team with my hands behind my back. Mu Xinwan raised the team flag, shielding me from the scorching sun overhead. With a smile in her eyes, she slowly peeked behind my back. "What are you hiding?" This detailed, considerate move instantly triggered screams from the entire crowd. A handsome guy and a beautiful girl in the same frame. The atmosphere was instantly filled with pink bubbles, bubbling over like crazy. I raised an eyebrow, full of confidence. Mu Xinwan looked at me, her eyes full of amusement. She probably saw right through me and knew I was up to something. A sudden premonition of disaster flashed in her eyes. The very next second, I whipped out a massive banner from behind my back and unfurled it right in front of everyone. Bright red fabric with bold black letters, arrogant and completely in your face. "Infinite charm, you're the best. Miss Mu is the undisputed queen of the court." Su Fei did a spit take on the spot. The entire audience burst into laughter. The hype was absolutely off the charts. The smile on Mu Xinwan's lips deepened. She backhandedly slapped the team flag over her own face and helplessly groaned. "Yang Jian, that is so incredibly cheesy. Cheesy fits your vibe perfectly." I leaned in, deliberately trying to lift the flag off her face. "Don't be shy, Miss Mu. Own it." She flicked her finger, trying to knock me on the head. But I had already anticipated it and nimbly dodged to the side. Our relaxed, playful banter became the most eye-catching highlight before the match even started. The atmosphere hit its absolute peak. Only Hao Shusheng's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. Jikong Liang, who was standing next to him, was frozen stiff by his icy aura, completely at a loss for what to do. It was toe-curlingly awkward, but this campus idol wasn't here to back up Hao Shusheng at all. He was here to cheer for the rival team. Poser was completely dumbfounded. His pupils were shaking like crazy. His mental state just completely collapsed. He couldn't figure out for the life of him when I had managed to hook up with Mu Xinwan and act so intimately with her. You didn't even have to think about it to know that he was definitely grinding his teeth in hatred toward me right now. He must be convinced that I deliberately seduced Mu Xinwan during the finals to steal his spotlight and his crush. Not far away, Nan Tong and Xiaogo also looked completely bewildered, completely out of the loop. But I have to say, standing next to Mu Xinwan, our looks and auras were a perfect match. Our compatibility completely crushed everyone else on the court. I put away the banner, and just as I struck a pose to do another stunt, Mu Xinwan quickly shut me down. No need. I seriously suspected she was afraid that watching me would throw off her mental game and affect her performance in the match. She smoothly changed the subject. "The match is about to start. What score do you want?" I glanced over at the opposing finance department team and casually declared, "Just shut them out." The international trade team members instantly got fired up. Baring their teeth, they were ready to charge out and show their loyalty, but Mu Xinwan shoved them right back. My wave of arrogant confidence completely pissed off Poser. Even Hao Shusheng, staring at the ball in his hands, had a complete shift in his eyes. His killer instinct was maxed out. At that moment, the referee's whistle blew. The match officially began. We originally thought it would be a chill, friendly mixer, but the tension on the court instantly skyrocketed. Mu Xinwan and Hao Shuasheng, the two campus idols, clashed head-on. The confrontation was intense. The excitement of the match doubled in an instant. Taking the lead, she dribbled the ball into the penalty area. Hao Shuasheng made a rare, deep defensive retreat, giving it his all to block her. But she pulled off a beautiful rainbow flick, effortlessly playing him for a fool, a precise shot from a tight angle. The score was 1-0. The crowd went absolutely wild. Even the cheesy slogan I wrote was being chanted so loudly it shook the heavens. Mu Xinwan looked up at me and flashed a finger heart. She looked so stunning that every guy in the audience collectively swooned. Seeing her act so smug, I couldn't help but snicker. On the other side, the finance department's defender hung his head and apologized to Hao Shuasheng. Hao Shuasheng, who was usually gentle and magnanimous, kept a cold face the entire time, without saying a single word. 10 minutes into the match, the International Trade Department launched another fierce attack. Mu Xinwan dribbled the ball all the way from midfield, crushing the defense. Just as she was about to pull off an epic solo run, Hao Shuasheng intercepted from the side, but she still nimbly dodged him with a spin move. She smoothly faked out the entire defense and chipped the ball into the top corner, making it 2-0. As the two brushed past each other, Mu Xingwan dropped a light but devastatingly lethal taunt. Getting past you is like crossing an empty street in the morning. Hao Xuexing's face instantly turned livid, pushed to his absolute limit. After that, his playstyle completely spiraled out of control. His tackles became increasingly vicious, crossing the line and earning him a direct yellow card from the referee. But the tide of the game had already completely turned. There was absolutely no way to make a comeback. 3-0, 4-0, 5-0. The International Trade Department was unstoppable. The Finance Department was getting steamrolled the entire time, losing ground with every play. The spectator stands were completely boiling over. The internet was flooded with praise, everyone marveling at how Mu Xingwan's looks and skills were both god-tier. Beating the opponents was like a dimensional strike. Nantong and Xiaogo felt something was increasingly off the more they watched. They couldn't shake the feeling that the clash between the two campus idols was way too intense. The two muttered to each other, "It's supposed to be a friendly match. There's absolutely no need to go at each other's throats like this." Xiaogo had a sudden flash of insight and whispered a guess that the root of the conflict was most likely me. As soon as he said that, Poser, who was standing nearby, sharply retorted. He forcefully tried to brainwash them, denying it and insisting that there was no way Mu Xingwan would target Hao Xuexing, just for my sake. It's just normal competition between the two sides. Nantong and Xiaogo were convinced by him and temporarily suppressed their doubts. Only Poser himself knew the truth deep down. The situation had completely spiraled out of control, and he couldn't maintain even a shred of dignity on his face. At the 90-minute mark, the final whistle blew, accompanied by a mind-blowing world-class strike from Mu Xingwan. The final score was locked at 7-0. The International Trade Department secured a crushing, dominant victory. After the match ended, the audience and players swarmed forward to praise and congratulate her. Poser also squeezed into the crowd, but the sole focus of the entire stadium, Mu Xingwan, didn't care about the crowd's flattery at all. Clutching her gleaming gold medal, she pushed through the layers of people and walked straight toward me. The blazing sun shone on her messy long hair, casting a pale golden halo over it. Her facial features were ridiculously flawless. She looked down at me slightly, her eyes both gentle and burning with intensity. She spoke bluntly, "Put this on me." Su Fei, standing to the side, got goosebumps all over. It probably completely shattered her worldview. She never expected that the aloof goddess would fall so hard and so fast. I took the medal in silence and raised my hands to put it around her neck. The moment I finished, she threw herself into my arms and hugged me tightly. The entire stadium instantly erupted into deafening cheers and catcalls. The sound of camera shutters clicked non-stop. Poser watched the scene unfold before him, so jealous he was on the verge of a breakdown. The two ends of the court were a picture of extreme contrast. The international trade team was partying like crazy, dominating the vibe. The finance team, covered in dirt and utterly dejected, left the field. The players mocked themselves for lacking skill and hurried off to avoid further embarrassment. Only Hao Xuexing remained standing there. His jersey was a filthy mess, the embroidered logo soaked in sweat. A few finance department players gathered around Hao Xuexing, desperately trying to comfort him. They kept saying that the skill gap was just too huge, and pointed out that Mu Xingwan was a seasoned champion in the city leagues, with top-tier resources in the elite circles. Normal people just can't keep up with her. But Hao Xuexing's gaze remained deadlocked on my side. His face was so dark it looked like it could drip water. Ji Kongliang saw right through this group of people. They were completely missing the core issue. Hao Xuexing never cared about winning or losing. It was me. This guy was just too stubborn to admit it. His obsession was maxed out, but he refused to show even a hint of it. On the other side, just as I instinctively tried to pull my waist back, Mu Xingwan instantly hugged me even tighter. "Don't move." Her voice was clingy and a bit whiny. "You said before that you'd properly congratulate me on winning the championship. Now that I've secured this massive victory, you won't even give me a hug?" I couldn't resist her soft pleading and hard pestering. I raised my arms and wrapped them around her back. All right. Congratulations, Goddess Mu." At that moment, feeling my touch, Mu Xingwan's lips curled into an arrogant smirk. Her gaze swept straight toward Hao Xuexing in the distance. I didn't catch the underlying tension, assuming she was just showing off her victory. I played along and hyped up the crowd. "You're the absolute ceiling. You couldn't find a second one like you in all of Jin Yu." She immediately pulled her gaze back, buried her head in the crook of my neck, and took a deep breath of the minty scent on me. She pressed, "Then does this glory belong to you too?" "Of course, it's all mine." In the distance, Hao Xuexing watched with his own eyes as I actively hugged her back. It looked like shattered glass had pierced his eyes, and the corners of his eyes turned red. Ji Kongliang reached out, threw an arm around his shoulder, and started brainwashing him. Yang Jian and Mu Xingwan had zero interaction before this. Getting so close all of a sudden, it's highly likely he's just playing hard to get, doing this specifically to provoke you. He also criticized Hao Xuexing, saying that even though he always gave people the cold shoulder, even the most passionate person would eventually cool off. You need to show at least a little bit of kindness. Hearing these words, Hao Xuexing's expression softened slightly. He lowered his eyes, sinking into his own internal struggle. Not long after, outside the restroom, a group of guys were huddled together gossiping. The campus forum was blowing up. Pictures of Mu Xingwan and me hugging were being shipped like crazy. Someone was confused. He used to chase Hao Xuesheng so publicly, and now he turns around and gets all cozy with Miss Mu. Someone even casually donated $1 million under his name, and he wore limited edition haute couture at the finals. They were absolutely certain I was some wealthy young master from the elite circle. Before they could even finish, Poser walked out of a stall, interrupting their gossip with a mouthful of sarcasm. He immediately started spreading rumors that my family collected trash for a living. He even said it himself. The group grew more and more confused as they talked. How could a trash collector have that kind of financial backing? And how could he hook up with Mu Xingwan, surrounded by all those wealthy heiresses? Poser sneered. Just because he wormed his way into the elite circle doesn't mean he's a legit rich kid. There are plenty of gigolos out there making a quick buck through shady means. With that, he waved his hand and walked off, leaving the group of guys standing there stunned, their imaginations running wild with all sorts of filthy speculations. Little did they know, I was hiding in a stall the entire time. Every single word of his slander fell right into my ears. I slowly stepped out. The guys were so scared they frantically waved their hands to distance themselves and scattered in a panic. Watching posers retreating back, I let out a low scoff. A gigolo making a quick buck? He sure seems to know a lot about the gray industry. Back then, I deliberately hid my family background, all because I overheard Poser gossiping in the early days, saying that Hao Xuesheng absolutely despised rich people and hated spoiled, pampered rich kids. Whenever people asked about my background, I would just vaguely mention that my family was in the recycling business. Who would have thought that the gold and silver recycling industry would be directly twisted by him into collecting trash? Now that I was completely over Hao Xuesheng, there was no need to keep hiding my identity. I might as well apply to be a day student and move out of the dorms. That way, I wouldn't have to face this ticking time bomb every day. But a new problem immediately followed. Over the past few years, I had stubbornly done a lot of ridiculous things, pissing off the elders in my family so much that they cut ties with me. My grandparents, my dad, and my sister wouldn't fall for my usual whining and clinging. They weren't like Mu Xingwan, who could be easily coaxed with a few sweet words. Just the thought of going home and coming clean gave me a massive headache. I pushed open the dorm door with an expensive ice cream bar in my mouth. Xiao Go immediately came over with a flattering smile. I raised an eyebrow and casually offered him an ice cream. Want one? The two of them took it and instantly froze. $88 for a single bar. That was equivalent to their living expenses for a whole day. As they tore open the packaging, their guilt maxed out. At that moment, Xiaogu took the initiative to apologize. We agreed to go to the finals together last week, but Poser had a total meltdown, so we had to stay behind and keep him company. Nantong chimed in to agree. In the past, he was much closer to Poser, but now he was actively showing goodwill. It was simply because he realized I had deep pockets. He was calculating in his head that having an extra connection after entering society would be useful. Even if my family were just nouveau riche trash collectors, we were still leagues ahead of ordinary students. I just shook my head gently. It's fine. This is a personal issue between me and Poser. There's no need to drag you guys into this conflict and put you in an awkward position. The two of them instantly breathed a sigh of relief. They swarmed around me, chattering away. Yang Jian, you're way too forgiving. I've noticed you've changed so much. I took a bite of my ice cream and looked up. Have I? What's different? I muttered to myself internally, terrified that the pent-up gloom from my past life would slip out and be seen through by others at a glance. But Xiaogu and Nantong's assessment was completely off the mark. You're literally glowing right now. You're so dazzling. They said that in the past, I was just an empty shell, like a lifeless decoration. My eyes were only focused on chasing after Hao Xuesheng, so clingy that even outsiders found it annoying. But now, I was like a star that had broken free from its restraints, radiating an endless, natural brilliance. At that moment, Xiaogu suddenly changed the subject, probing cautiously about that microphone incident at the finals. Poser said you sabotaged it on purpose. We didn't believe him at all. I replied bluntly, I did it on purpose. Their expressions froze on the spot. They laughed loudly to smooth things over, repeatedly emphasizing that since I was the original singer anyway, whatever I did was totally justified. The atmosphere in the dorm instantly went cold. They were holding back a belly full of questions about how Mu Xingwan and I got so close, but they didn't dare ask anything else. They could only quietly retreat to their own beds. I didn't say anything more. I just spaced out with the ice cream in my mouth, my mind entirely focused on figuring out how to go home and mend my relationship with my family. The next day of my elective class, I walked in with my backpack and bumped into my desk mate, Mu Yangquan. We looked at each other and laughed. Can't believe we ended up in the same obscure class. This fate is ridiculous. Mu Yangquan sighed. I got super sick last year and missed course registration, so the system just shoved me in here. Why did you fall into this trap? What other reason could there be? In the past, my heart and eyes were entirely focused on Hao Xuesheng. I completely let my studies rot, piling up a massive deficit in credits. By the time I realized I needed to make them up, all the popular, high-credit classes had long been snatched up. I was left with this kind of lecture hall, a fringe class with only 30 or 40 people. Mu Yangquan took one look at my expression and understood. Just as he was about to tease me about Hao Xuesheng, his words suddenly caught in his throat. We saw at the classroom door, a figure in white walk in. Hao Xuesheng, holding his books, his presence incredibly striking. He instantly set the whole room buzzing. People whispered, His credits have been maxed out for ages. Why is he taking a makeup credit class? Could he be here for Yang Jian? Look, he's heading to the front row. Don't tell me the campus idol finally came around and actually caught feelings. Mu Yangquan poked my arm like crazy, his mouth wide open. Look who's here. I looked up and met Hao Shusheng's gaze. I froze. He wasn't worried about credits. Professors of all the popular classes were fighting to have him. There was no need for him to squeeze into a niche elective like this. As our eyes met, his gaze instantly locked onto me, staring intently without looking away. I scoffed inwardly. For the past few years, I chased after him, and he wouldn't even spare me a glance from the corner of his eye. Now he's staring at me relentlessly. He probably thinks I deliberately chose the same class to pester him. In the past, he definitely would have turned around and left. Who knew he would walk straight down the steps and sit in the row right in front of me? Mu Yangquan's gossip, DNA fully awakened. With a wild look in his eyes, he whispered. He could have picked any empty seat in the room, but he chose to sit right in front of you. Who can even understand this script? My frown deepened. I couldn't figure out what was going through his head. It would be best if we just treated each other like air and didn't bother one another. That would suit me perfectly. At that moment, the teacher walked in carrying materials. Seeing Hao Shusheng and me, two campus celebrities, his mood visibly improved as he handed out the parts. Today's task is a blind box model assembly. No instructions. Complete and submit it in an hour and a half for your credits. You can team up, communicate, and collaborate. Mu Yangquan opened his blind box, and looking at the pile of scattered parts, he immediately got a headache. Meanwhile, I only had half the number of parts he did. My luck was pretty good. There's a ready-made top student right in front of us, perfect for asking for help. Mu Yangquan shot me an anxious look, secretly urging me to go up and strike up a conversation. I kept my head down, focusing on tinkering with the parts. I replied flatly, if you want to ask, go do it yourself. I can handle this. Mu Yangquan was dumbfounded on the spot. You used to chase after Hao Shusheng like superglue, and now that he's actively sitting right in front of you, you're completely unfazed? You're acting really weird today. He waved his hand in front of my eyes. If you get distracted, you won't be able to hand in the assignment. Not long after, the class bell rang. A bunch of people crowded around Hao Shusheng's seat, gathering to ask him for assembly tips. He patiently answered them one by one, but he never got to hear that familiar, clear male voice that used to always hover around him. At the 40-minute mark, Hao Shusheng was the first to finish. The cruise ship model had exquisite details and looked incredibly high quality. The teacher took it straight to the podium to show it off. Everyone, stop what you're doing, and come take a look at Hao Shusheng's finished work. I was the only one in the room who didn't look up. I was entirely focused on assembling my butterfly wings. The teacher patted the podium, calling on everyone to learn from Hao Shusheng. Then, he went around collecting the models one by one, grading them to wrap things up. He assigned a group craft project that would also count toward our credits. He appointed group leaders on the spot, and the very first one was Hao Shusheng. More than half the class wrote notes to apply, fighting tooth and nail to get into his group. When Mu Yangquan was writing his name, he caught a glimpse of me burying my head in my assembly, and conveniently added my name to the list as well, without giving me any heads up. Hao Shusheng scanned through the application slips, one by one. When he finally saw my name, a very faint smirk tugged at the corners of his cold lips. I managed to finish right before the bell rang and handed in a butterfly. The teacher commented that the design was beautiful, but my speed dragged my score down, so he gave me a 90. I felt absolutely nothing inside. As long as I got the credits, that was enough. I didn't ask for anything else. After class, the teacher told everyone they could pick any model to take home as a souvenir. The crowd swarmed forward. Hao Shusheng walked straight up to the podium and took that butterfly. Even the teacher was stunned. The perfect score cruise ship was sitting right there, yet he specifically chose my average scoring piece. Turning his head, the teacher caught sight of me packing my bag. He instantly saw right through Hao Shusheng's little scheme. The next second, the teacher shoved the perfect score cruise ship directly into my hands. This is the only perfect piece from this class. If you like building, take it back and use it for reference. The glaring 100 on the paper had the 3 characters of Hao Shusheng's name written right below it. I politely declined on the spot. Thank you, professor, but I don't have a talent for building. I don't need it. Before I could finish my sentence, the rest of the models were snatched up. The teacher forcefully shoved the model into my arms and turned to leave. The remaining students huddled together, whispering. They were secretly taking photos with their phones, all acting sour about my insane luck. Everyone assumed I was obsessed with Hao Shusheng, and that getting something he made with his own hands would make me lose my mind with joy. I lowered my eyes and stared at the cruise ship, a slow, self-deprecating look in my eyes. If this were my past life, I definitely would have treated it like a priceless treasure and cherished it day and night. But now, it just felt like an eyesore. After walking out of the classroom, I threw the cruise ship straight into the trash can. Over the weekend, for the elective class, a notification popped up in the main group chat. Gather at the reading room at 10 a.m. Group 1 leader, Hao Shusheng. My name was glaringly obvious on the member list. My sleepiness vanished instantly. I frowned on the spot. I never even signed up. How did my name get on there? A message from Mu Yangquan popped up immediately. Yang Jian, Hao Shusheng actually accepted you into his group. I thought he'd cross your name out the second he saw it. With so many people fighting for a spot, It looks like your unrequited love is finally reaching a turning point. So he was the culprit all along. I closed my eyes, ground my teeth, and texted back. Who told you to sign me up without asking? Come on, we've been desk mates for years. I know exactly what you're thinking. I was just giving you a helping hand. If it works out, you owe me a coconut chicken hot pot. Seeing him getting so carried away with his own self-righteousness, I couldn't be bothered to argue. I just sent a voice message. Since you're so eager to help, handle all my group sign-ins and assignments today. Mu Yangquan instantly lost his mind. You're throwing away a once-in-a-lifetime chance to get close to her. Whoever wants it can go for it. I'm not interested. He stared at the screen, completely baffled. Last class, Hao Susheng sat right in front of me, and I gave zero reaction the entire time. The contrast was ridiculously huge. In his mind, my pursuit of Hao Susheng was earth-shattering. There was no way I could just drop it like that. I'll do it all for 3 coconut chicken meals. Mu Yangquan instantly agreed, tossing over a funny meme, and stopped asking questions. Not long after, in the reading room's discussion area, Group 1 was all present. Hao Susheng was already in her seat. Her outfit was completely different from her usual style. Instead of her usual coldness, her aura had a bit more of a lively, charming vibe. The group members took turns wildly praising her looks. Someone even took the chance to compare her to Mu Xinwan. Hao Susheng, who usually never cared about appearance topics, actually chimed in on her own, asking what the difference was between them. The crowd below exclaimed that even girls were fiercely competing nowadays. One girl bluntly stated that if she were a guy, she'd definitely choose Hao Xuesheng. A bunch of guys frantically agreed, saying that someone on Mu Xinwan's level was completely out of their league anyway. Hearing this, Hao Susheng seemed to think of something. The corners of her lips curled up slightly, and her mood visibly improved. Just then, Mu Yangquan sprinted into the reading room. Hao Susheng looked up, her gaze sweeping straight past him to look behind. She asked, Yang Jian didn't come with you. Something came up and he couldn't get away. He asked me to sign in for him. I've already finished his part of the assignment, so you can just give me the materials, group leader. As soon as he finished speaking, the faint smile in Hao Susheng's eyes instantly vanished. Mu Yangquan froze on the spot. My group does not allow proxy sign-ins or proxy work. He must be here in person. Mu Yangquan was completely dumbfounded. Then what about my 3 coconut chicken meals? Did they just go down the drain? It's just an extracurricular assignment, and the professor isn't even here. Do we really need to be so strict with the rules? Mu Yangquan tried to argue a bit more, but Hao Susheng just tapped on her phone. Back in the dorm, I was wrapped in my blanket, planning to catch up on sleep. Suddenly, my phone started buzzing like crazy. In the elective class group chat, my name was tagged in red. Hao Susheng had tagged me. Group assignments must be completed in person. Absence means 0 credits. Reading room 253 Yang Jian. I narrowed my eyes. I knew damn well she was targeting me on purpose. Everyone in the class did proxy sign-ins, yet she was suddenly enforcing the rules to the letter just for me. Agreeing to let me in her group back then was clearly just saving an opportunity to make things difficult for me. I thought about just quitting the group and giving up the credits, but with finals coming up and needing to go home soon, facing my family with a failed class and a retake would look really bad. So, I suppressed my annoyance and typed back, save my assignment materials. I'll be there later. As noon approached, the group members gradually finished up and left. Mu Yangquan packed up his bag and noticed that Hao Susheng had finished long ago, yet she was still sitting up straight, not showing any signs of leaving. Group leader, aren't you going to eat? I'm going to compile the final product one more time. All right, I'll head out first then. Just as he stepped out the door, a bunch of guys spotted Hao Suesheng and eagerly rushed over to strike up a conversation. When my 12 o'clock alarm went off, I slowly got up and headed out. I had timed it perfectly, wanting to go after everyone had left. But the moment I stepped into the reading room, I ran straight into a room full of people. Hao Suesheng was surrounded by a circle of guys from the student union and her roommates. The entire room's gaze instantly locked onto me. The guys who were just smiling brightly at Hao Suesheng instantly turned cold. They looked me up and down, their voices dripping with sarcasm. Yang Jian actually showed up? What else would he be here for? Chasing the president? Of course. Art majors just coast by on their looks anyway. We STEM majors have mountains of coursework. Who has the time to orbit around someone all day? Shi Kongliang locked eyes on me immediately and quickly nudged Hao Susheng's arm. He was absolutely certain that my closeness with Mu Xinwan on the court was just playing hard to get. The moment Hao Susheng softened her attitude a bit, I immediately came crawling back. A few of her female roommates huddled together, snickering. Every word they whispered was laced with mockery, treating me like some clingy stalker they couldn't shake off. The surrounding ridicule and malice were almost palpable. I twitched the corner of my mouth, turned around, and prepared to just walk away. Just then, an authoritative voice rang out from behind me. Yang Jian, come here. That tone was no different from calling a pet. The crowd around us couldn't hold back their muffled laughter. My heart turned cold. It was hard to imagine how in my past life I managed to endure this kind of humiliation day after day. Just as I was about to snap back, Fox Spirit, reeking of alcohol, stumbled up and walked toward me. A strong stench of booze hit me in the face. Before I could step back, he bent over and threw up right on the spot. The vomit splattered all over my clothes. I froze completely, my face instantly turning pale. Seeing this, Hao Xusheng's expression tightened. She immediately stood up and strode over. Fox Spirit wiped his mouth. He muttered an apology, but there wasn't a shred of guilt in his eyes. He probably figured that since I was so obsessed with Hao Xusheng, I wouldn't make a fuss even if I was offended. Hao Xusheng stared at my stained luxury jacket and spoke up. I'll compensate you in full. No need. Disgust surged straight up my throat. My eyes were as cold as ice. It's got filth on it. I don't want it anymore. With that, I took off the jacket, threw it on the floor, and turned to leave. Hao Xusheng bent down to pick up the jacket, her mind filled with the icy look I had just given her. I had never looked at her like that before. Fox Spirit was startled. He actually gets mad. Before, no matter how much you rejected him, he'd always shamelessly throw himself at you. He looked at Hao Xusheng with a cheeky grin, but was terrified into silence by the violent storm brewing in her eyes. Without waiting for him to spout any more nonsense, Hao Xusheng grabbed him by the arm. Like a tractor, she forcefully dragged him into the restroom. Turning the faucet on full blast, Hao Xusheng grabbed Fox Spirit by the hair and ruthlessly shoved his face into the freezing water. Fox Spirit choked wildly on the water, unable to even utter a plea for mercy. Are you sober now? Hao Xusheng's voice was ice cold. The onlookers outside heard the commotion and instantly fell dead, silent, chills running down their spines. When had their usually aloof and arrogant president ever lost her temper like this? It finally dawned on everyone. Who said Hao Xusheng didn't care about Yang Jian? Meanwhile, in the anime club corner, a few guys were huddled together, scrolling through videos, chatting excitedly. That interaction before the game was insane. The sweetness was off the charts. I'm locking this ship down. Someone on the forum said they aren't even close and it's all scripted. Stop making shit up. Tons of people in the gym saw it with their own eyes. Yang Jian called her Sister Wan right in front of everyone. How could that vibe be fake? The words Sister Wan drifted into Poser's ears. His footsteps came to a sudden halt. So Yang Jian just relied on being thick-skinned and aggressively flirting to hook up with Mu Xinwan. It seemed playing hard to get was completely useless for a guy. You had to strike first to gain the upper hand. He couldn't wait any longer. Downstairs at the International Trade Building, Zhu Fei and Xiao Go were laughing and fighting over in-game loot. Mu Xinwan followed behind them, slinging her bag over one shoulder. Her cold, stunning features were strikingly beautiful in the sunlight. Passers-by couldn't help but turn their heads. Poser, gripping a drink, kept his head down and charged desperately toward the trio. The moment they brushed past each other, his foot slipped, and he fell with pinpoint accuracy right toward Mu Xinwan. More than half a cup of thick, yellow-green liquid splashed all over her backpack. Su Fei gasped. Everyone knew Mu Xinwan was a massive germaphobe. Poser slumped on the ground, looking up with an extremely innocent and pitiful expression. Su Fei swallowed the curses that were right on the tip of her tongue. His act made it look like they were the ones bullying him. Xiao Gu rolled his eyes. We're in college and you're still pulling this green tea scam. So unoriginal. It's all my fault. Give me the bag. I'll wash it clean and return it to you, Sister Wan. The moment that fake Sister Wan slipped out, Mu Xinwan's eyes turned completely frigid. She pulled her books out of the bag and casually tossed the stained bag straight into the trash can. She turned and walked away, without even giving him a second glance. Poser instantly froze in place, cringing so hard his toes curled. The script had completely derailed from his expectations. He clearly heard that this was exactly how Yang Jian called her. Why did he hit a brick wall when he tried it? Su Fei hurriedly chased after her, narrowly dodging a book Mu Xinwan casually chucked at her. Why are you taking it out on me? I'm not the one who spilled it. If you didn't go around calling me Sister Wan all day long, would it attract all these random strays trying to copy you? It makes me sick. In the distance, Poser crushed the paper cup in his hand. He had orchestrated countless accidental encounters, yet in her eyes, he didn't even exist. Don't call me that anymore. Su Fei choked on her words. Then what should I call you? Su Fei rolled her eyes. Wait a minute. Last time at the gym, the school idol called you that too, and you didn't find it disgusting at all. In fact, you accommodated him in every way. Hearing my name, Mu Xinwan's tense expression instantly softened, and a faint smile rippled across her lips. When others say it, it's annoying. When he says it, Su Fei silently cursed her for prioritizing guys over friends, grabbed Xiao Gu, and bolted. Poser stood there, consumed by jealousy and hatred. Yang Jian again. Why did that guy always have to one-up him in everything? He was even stealing the woman he had his eyes on. Since he couldn't get his hands on Mu Xinwan, then Yang Jian shouldn't expect smooth sailing with Hao Xusheng either. On the court, Xiao Gu made a pass, and used his chin to gesture to Mu Xinwan. Look over there, isn't that Yang Jian? Mu Xinwan turned her head and locked onto my figure. Her cold eyes instantly softened. She ran straight off the court and yelled at me. Xiao Jian? I hadn't been replying to her WeChat messages, so she was wondering where I went. Turns out I was grinding away at my studies in the library. It was rare to see me so motivated. Su Fei stood nearby, grinning with a face full of gossip. Only Xiao Gu had a flash of worry in his eyes. Mu Xinwan's voice was clear and naturally magnetic, with incredible piercing power. Everyone on the street turned their heads in unison to watch, but I acted like I didn't hear a thing, not stopping my pace as I kept walking straight ahead. Su Fei tried to smooth things over. He probably didn't hear you. Yeah. Right. Her voice was so loud that students in the next building over were poking their heads out to watch the drama. Mu Xinwan actually believed it, raising her voice to yell again. Yang Jian. This time, not only did I not look back, I actually sped up and quickly ducked away. It was obvious I was intentionally avoiding her. The smile on Mu Xinwan's face instantly froze. Su Fei really didn't know how to comfort her, so she just told the truth. He seems to be avoiding you on purpose. What Xiaogu had feared earlier had come true. Xiaogu pulled out his phone and handed it over. A new post on the school forum had shot to the top of the trending list. The first headline: I donated millions to Hao Xuixing. The whole internet was spreading rumors that I was desperately chasing her. The second trending post: elective class. Hao Xuixing and I were in the same class, and we had exchanged handmade models. Su Fei slapped her forehead, suddenly understanding everything. So his approaching you was purely using you as a tool to make Hao Xuixing jealous? That's way too far. Before she could finish, a freezing glare locked onto her. Mu Xinwan's tone carried absolute intimidation. Say one more word, and I'll rip your head off and use it as a volleyball. Su Fei immediately shut her mouth, not daring to say another word. It was a petty trick the whole school could see through, yet Mu Xinwan was the only one fiercely defending me. She was in way too deep. After that mess in the reading room, my desire to go home maxed out. But after thinking it over and over, I just couldn't find a good excuse to step down. The ones who loved me most at home were my grandparents. But just last month, I made my grandpa so mad he fell ill. He was currently recovering at Berlin Hospital, and my grandma was by his side the whole time. I didn't have the face to bother them, terrified of upsetting the two elders again. Then there was my sister. In a fit of anger, I had blocked all her contact info. When I wanted to make up and unblock her, I realized we had mutually blocked each other. A Scorpio female CEO's ability to hold a grudge was truly unparalleled. As for my dad, his strictness was through the roof. Just the thought of talking to him gave me the chills. Right now, my head was full of worries. I was spacing out on the road, wandering like I'd lost my soul. I didn't hear Mu Xinwan's first shout at all. The moment she shouted the second time, my phone happened to ring. It was my uncle, Xia Jianren. He had finished his overseas training and returned to the country. I instantly saw a lifesaver. Gripping my phone, I quickly ducked into a quiet corner, my voice filled with joy. Uncle, you're finally back. I missed you to death. Xia Jianren had just landed, and was completely caught off guard by my sudden burst of enthusiasm. He had only been abroad for 3 months. There was no way this little wild wolf missed him that much. He definitely needed a favor. Flattery for no reason. There's definitely something fishy going on. Did you hit another roadblock chasing the school beauty? Need me to step in and clean up your mess? I gently shook my head, my nose stinging. In my past life, my uncle was the only one in the whole family who never restricted me. No matter what I did, as long as I was happy, he supported me completely. Both my uncle and I were influenced by my mom to enter the sports world. I played table tennis, and he specialized in fencing. In our early years, we even teamed up for long-term overseas training and competitions. We were only 7 years apart, both deeply attached to the same person. Our relationship with my mom was always incredibly tight. After my mother passed away, my uncle's personality drastically changed. He used to have high standards and strict demands for me, but later, he completely let me do whatever I wanted. Right or wrong, he always took my side. In my past life, for the sake of Hao Xuixing and Poser, I repeatedly drained and used my uncle, causing his career and reputation to plummet and his competitive form to completely collapse. Now, hearing his energetic voice, my heart was filled with a bitter ache. Thank God everything had restarted, and I still had a chance to make amends. Yang Jian. Xia Jianren sensed something was wrong with my mood and instantly grew tense. Is someone bullying you at school? No. I just really miss you, and I miss home. Miss home? That actually surprised him. Didn't you have a massive falling out with the family? I regret it. Xia Jianren was overjoyed. Everyone in the Yang family held me dear to their hearts. He had always been troubled by my standoff with the family and never expected me to figure it out on my own. Really? Uncle, can you help me smooth things over with the family? I don't want to live on campus anymore. I want to go home and help out. No problem, but I have several crucial matches lined up right now, so I can't make it back to the capital in the short term. The conflict between you and the family has been building for a long time. It can't be resolved with just a few words. Wait until I finish my matches, and I'll personally take you back to the Yang family. He paused for a moment, struck by a sudden idea. As for living on campus, that's easy to fix. I'll arrange for you to stay at a friend's place for a while. I was full of doubt. Which friend? Are they reliable? If it's a stranger, I'd rather just stay in the dorms. Xia Jianren's lips curled up. He confidently guaranteed. Absolutely reliable. They will take care of your every single need. He deliberately emphasized the last part. My suspicions grew heavier, but I had always trusted my uncle unconditionally, so I agreed without asking further. Back at the dorm, Xiaogu was stunned when he heard I was moving out. Nantong couldn't sit still either. He cautiously guessed, "Are you still holding a grudge because we bailed on you last time?" Not at all, and I haven't decided to commute long-term either. I'm just staying at a friend's place for a while. Xiaogu tugged at the corner of my shirt, his face full of reluctance. If you ever come back to the dorm, you have to tell us in advance. We'll come pick you up. Nantong looked at my fully packed luggage and the private car waiting downstairs. Out of the corner of his eye, he glanced at Poser, who had kept his bed curtains drawn the whole time, pretending to be invisible. He secretly pondered how I used to be willing to squeeze into this shabby dorm. entirely to accommodate Poser and get closer to Hao Xuexing. Now that things had gone sour on both ends, there was naturally no reason for me to stay here. He usually hung out more with Poser, but he had also piggybacked off my status as the school idol to score quite a few perks as my roommate. With me gone, it was like losing his halo. A faint sense of regret sprouted in his heart, regretting that he hadn't taken the initiative to get closer to me before. Yang Jian, even if you move out, we're still friends, right? Of course. I'm just staying somewhere else temporarily, not dropping out. Then can we come visit you at your new place later? No problem. Let's talk after I'm settled in. After a brief goodbye, I waved and got into the car. The car windows were rolled down, and the evening breeze carried the refreshing air. The scenery along the way unfolded beautifully. Every time I followed my heart after my rebirth, my mind felt increasingly clear. But it wasn't long before a feeling that something was off crept into my mind. The car drove out of Jinghua University and headed straight for the ultra-luxurious Wanliu district. This was Imperial Courtyard number 1, right at the base of the Imperial City, Mu Xinhuan's private residence. No wonder the scenery along the way looked more and more familiar. It turned out that the 100% reliable friend my uncle mentioned was actually the Mu family. I was temporarily staying at Mu Xinhuan's house. The car came to a smooth stop in front of a detached villa. As soon as the engine cut off, a servant immediately stepped forward to take my luggage. The driver opened the door, and I looked up to see Aunt Shu Lan standing on the steps. She was Mu Xinhuan's mother, and also my mom's best friend when she was alive. Back in the day, the two of them were known as the twin beauties of the capital circle. Whether in their private lives or their careers, they were legends that others could never replicate. I stared at her, momentarily dazed. If my mom were still standing here, she would definitely be just as elegant and radiant. When Shu Lan saw me, her eyes instantly welled up with tears. She hurried down the steps and hugged me tightly. Yang Jian, Auntie has been waiting for you for so long. I snapped back to reality and awkwardly scratched my head. Auntie Lan, I'm sorry. Uncle didn't tell me I was coming to your house, so I came empty-handed. Silly child, what kind of formalities do you need when coming back to your own home? She wiped the corners of her eyes, beaming with a bright smile. At your 5th birthday party, I wanted to claim you as my godson right then and there. The whole family agreed, but Xinhuan was the only one who desperately opposed it. I remembered that clearly. That day, I was wearing a custom little suit, and I charmed her so much she was over the moon. Everyone had finalized the godson arrangement, but Mu Xinhuan completely blew her top. Whoever mentioned the word godbrother, she would throw a fit at them. Like a little beast with its fur standing on end, Grandpa Mu joked that he would marry her off to me in the future, and as a result, Mu Xinhuan lunged forward and bit his arm. The ring of teeth marks stayed bruised for days. Back then, I even laughed at her, calling her a protective little puppy. I took the opportunity to complain. Last time I wanted to acknowledge her as my sister. She flat out rejected me too. Xu Lan covered her mouth and chuckled softly, having long seen through her own daughter's thoughts. In the past, she thought the kid was just overly possessive, not wanting to share her mother's attention. Only later did she understand that she was never willing to just be a sister. That girl hid her feelings very deep. Auntie, are you going to show me to my room? No need, I'm very familiar with this place. It's different this time. A mysterious look hid in her eyes. Stepping into the villa, I was instantly dumbfounded. The practice room was piled high with treasured instruments from famous masters. All the fine wines at the kitchen bar had been cleared out, replaced with my favorite juices and sodas. The ensuite bathroom, the private study, every single layout and furnishing. It's a complete replica of my old room's layout. Auntie, isn't this a bit too exaggerated? I'm honestly speechless. I set all this up for you in advance. Do you like it? I mean, I really do like it, but I'm only staying here for a little while. Going to all this trouble is just too much. Xulin smiled easily. It's no trouble at all. In fact, you being here solves my biggest headache. My head was full of question marks. I was completely clueless. Meanwhile, up in the 4th floor gaming room, it was noisy. Game sound effects filled the entire room. But Mu Xinhuan was surrounded by a dark, gloomy aura. Her fingers gripped the mouse in a death hold. The computer screen displayed the top trending post on the Jindao University forum. Title was glaring. How Xusheng takes elective for love. Unpopular course leads to exchanging love tokens with the campus idol. The 3 attached photos were even more of an eyesore. The first was in the lecture hall. Hao Xusheng was sitting in the row right in front of me, turning sideways, staring at me tenderly as I built a cruise ship model. The second photo showed him carefully putting that cruise ship into his backpack. The third photo was of me holding the butterfly model he made with both hands. The wings clearly bore the 3 characters of Hao Xuexing's name. Mu Xinhuan gripped the mouse so hard she almost crushed it. Her eyes were filled with a fierce, hostile glint. She stared daggers at the girl in the photo, as if trying to bore a hole through her through the screen. At that moment, the butler knocked on the door to call her for dinner. We have an important guest. Madam ordered that you must come downstairs to greet them. He called out 4 times before finally getting a response. She flatly and irritably refused. I'm not going. A sharp crash of something shattering immediately followed from inside the room. The butler, startled, hurried downstairs to report the situation. I was just following Shulin downstairs when we bumped into the panicked butler. Madam, the miss is in a terrible mood. She locked herself in the gaming room as soon as she got back last night and hasn't eaten a single bite. I'm worried something might happen. I froze on the spot. Not eating for a whole day? Does this person not even need a basic metabolism to survive? Just what kind of shock did she suffer? Seolan, on the other hand, looked completely used to it. She looked at me helplessly. The big headache I mentioned is her. Ever since she hit puberty, Wanwan's temper has gotten more and more rebellious. None of the elders in the family can control her. But you're different, Yang Jian. She's only ever listened to you since you were kids. If you go talk some sense into her, it'll definitely work. Hearing the butler's words, I was completely baffled. A rebellious phase full of bad habits? How could that possibly apply to Mu Xingwan? In my eyes, she was the absolute standard of a top-tier honors student. She had absolutely nothing in common with a delinquent girl. The butler nodded repeatedly to back this up, saying that a while ago, she threw a fit, insisting on living in the school dorms, refusing to stay at home no matter what. Suspicion instantly flared in my mind. I decided to just go upstairs and see for myself. Inside the gaming room, Mu Xingwan gripped the mouse so hard she literally crushed it. As she stood up, her arm brushed against something on the side. It was an action figure modeled after me in sportswear, holding a paddle at a ping-pong table. Mid-swing. That was a custom figure made exclusively of me. She carefully picked it up, her fingertips repeatedly tracing over it. She closed her eyes and pressed it to her lips for a kiss. Her usual gentleness was completely gone, replaced by a dark, surging intensity in her eyes. Her tone was paranoid and twisted. Young master, you're the one who came looking for me this time. Don't even think about escaping from my side ever again. Just as she said that, my voice burst through the door. Shaowan, are you in secluded cultivation or something? Not eating all day? Mu Xingwan's hand trembled, nearly dropping the figure to the floor. She hurriedly clutched it tightly, freezing completely in place. Yang Jian, am I hearing things? I muttered from outside the door. Did she pass out from low blood sugar from starving herself? Just as I raised my hand to knock, the electronic door automatically popped open. I couldn't pull my hand back in time, and slapped her right on the shoulder. I stood there stunned for a full 5 seconds before pulling my hand back. The touch was warm and firm, with a supple muscle tone. Definitely not the soft, fragile type. Hidden depths, huh? Xiaowan, your body management is maxed out. I looked up, my eyes hiding a bit of awkwardness mixed with praise, but she didn't even notice my expression. Her eyes were full of disbelief as she locked onto me. Why are you here? The gloom that had been building up in her heart all day vanished without a trace the moment she saw me. Her heart was pounding wildly in her chest. I raised an eyebrow, playing dumb. Seeing the massive setup Auntie had arranged, it was obvious she had prepared my living quarters in advance, yet she actually had no idea. It turned out Zulin had kept the whole preparation a secret from her, planning to give her a surprise. Since Auntie hadn't spoiled it, I decided to keep her in suspense and whet her appetite. So, I put my hands behind my back and curled my lips into a smile. I have some big news to tell you. Hearing the word news, the light that had just sparked in her eyes was instantly clouded over. A wave of negative emotions swept over her. News that would make me come all the way to her house to share. Could it be that Hao Suesheng had responded to my feelings? Or even that we had gotten together? Just imagining the scene made her clench her fists until her knuckles turned white. Her emotions completely spiraled out of control. I don't want to hear it. She turned around, trying to avoid me. I quickly reached out and grabbed her wrist. Something wasn't right. She had never given me the cold shoulder before. This only ever happened when it involved Hao Suesheng. You have to listen even if you don't want to. Let's go downstairs, eat, and talk. I dragged her downstairs without taking no for an answer. She was full of resistance, not wanting to hear a single word related to Hao Suesheng. But her body simply couldn't resist my touch. Like a pulled marionette, Mu Xingwan obediently followed closely behind. She even quietly unclenched her tight fists and flipped her hand to interlock her fingers with mine. Less than 2 minutes later, Siyulin and the butler simultaneously witnessed this scene. Me dragging a sour-faced Mu Xingwan. She looked completely awkward and reluctant, yet her footsteps didn't lag behind in the slightest. The two of them exchanged a glance and couldn't hold back their laughter. The little tyrant who usually ruled the house with an iron fist was now acting as aggrieved and fidgety as a pouting little wife. Auntie Lanlin, we're down. Just in time for dinner. Xulan looked calm on the surface, but secretly gave me a thumbs up. Impressive. She had thought no one would be able to talk sense into this girl today. But I had it sorted out in 2 minutes. On the dining table, there was a massive spread of heavy dishes. The extravagance was on par with a banquet. I couldn't help but marvel. Auntie, is it just the 3 of us eating today? Your Uncle Mew is tied up with business and couldn't make it back. He specifically asked me to host you properly. You don't need to be so extravagant. Just keeping it simple and normal is fine. No problem. From now on, whatever you want to eat, just tell the chef directly. The words from now on fell into Mu Xingwan's ears. She paused abruptly. In the past, I used to always follow her back to the Mu family's garden and court. The swimming pool was filled entirely with our shared memories. But ever since I threw myself into chasing Hao Chueshing, I hadn't been back here once. Now, thinking that I might be staying here long-term from now on, her face actually darkened even more. Siulin picked up a piece of garlic sea cucumber and placed it on my plate. I was just hesitating when a pair of chopsticks beat me to it and snatched the sea cucumber away. He doesn't like garlic. That was the first sentence she had spoken all day. Her voice was cold, but it was enough to catch people off guard. Xiulan quickly apologized and wanted to serve me another dish, but Mu Xingwan's chopsticks didn't stop. Various delicacies were continuously piled up in front of me. They were all my absolute favorites. I propped up my cheek and sighed with a smile. She clearly had a dark cloud over her head and was thoroughly annoyed, yet she still perfectly remembered all my dietary preferences. Feeding me with a cold face was just too endearing. A playful urge to tease her welled up in me. I picked up a chopstick full of an extremely spicy dish and handed it to her. The whole school knew that Mu Xingwan couldn't handle even the slightest bit of spice. Just as Yulan tried to stop her, she stayed completely silent and ate the whole thing directly. I took turns giving her sweet and sour dishes, and finally even served her some bitter melon. She kept her head down the whole time and accepted everything, without the slightest reaction. Looking at this state, her jealousy was truly maxed out. Even her sense of taste had gone offline. I wonder who managed to make this precious eldest miss so furious. Remembering that she had been starving on an empty stomach all day, I stopped teasing her on purpose, and specifically picked out her favorite dishes to pile into her bowl. Xiulan sat across from us, watching our back-and-forth interaction, and gently shook her head with a smile. The dynamic between these two childhood sweethearts was truly incomprehensible to outsiders. I leaned in slightly and lowered my voice to tell her, "I'll come find you to hang out after dinner." I originally planned to tell her that I'd be temporarily living at the Mu family's house, eating, living, and going to class together just like when we were kids. But seeing her wrapped in this gloomy aura right now, I figured she wouldn't be able to process any good news. Better to just humor her and coax her first. The chopsticks in Mu Xingwan's hands suddenly stopped. She subconsciously assumed that I was in a rush to find her, to share some good news about how Sweshing. The food I had just given her instantly tasted like ash in her mouth. "I'm busy." Her tone was freezing cold, rejecting me outright. I nodded nonchalantly. Busy or not, if I wanted to find her, I could always catch her. After dinner, I walked into the music room alone, looking through the instruments on the shelves, one by one. In the past, whenever I threw a tantrum, it was always Mu Xingwan singing off-key beside me, to amuse me and cheer me up. Today, it was my turn to play an instrument to soothe her. Either way, I owed her one. I picked up a ukulele and was about to test the tuning, when a chaotic commotion came from outside the door. I poked my head out to look, and saw a group of servants, carrying giant delivery boxes up to the third-floor activity room. "What are all these?" "Not sure, the miss just ordered them online, and rushed us to bring them up immediately, saying she needs to use them right away." My curiosity piqued. I headed upstairs. Inside the activity room, Lego sets were piled up like mountains all over the floor. The thick blueprints had 4 large words printed on them. Aircraft carrier. I fell silent on the spot. When did she get into this hobby? And the moment she starts with building blocks, she goes straight for the hell difficulty aircraft carrier set. I raised my hand and knocked on the doorframe, mentally giving myself a preemptive shot, terrified she'd ask me to build it with her. I had absolutely zero interest in this kind of meticulous handiwork. Last time I built that cruise ship model, I almost fell asleep from boredom. "Jiawan, come downstairs for some fresh air. I'll play a song for you." "Busy." Mu Xingwan kept her head down, staring intently at the pieces, without even looking up. "Building an aircraft carrier?" I raised an eyebrow, my tone hiding a hint of surprise. She heard the hesitation in my voice, and the hostility around her deepened a bit. "You think I can't build it? There are tens of thousands of pieces. The difficulty is definitely up there." Finishing it in one night, I couldn't help but laugh. The instruction manual clearly states an estimated time of 2 weeks. She was obviously just talking tough, but those words ended up striking her pride. Her profile was covered in gloom, radiating a paranoid intensity. "Someone else can build a butterfly in just one class period. Why can't I build an aircraft carrier in one night?" I was completely lost. Who built a butterfly? What does that have to do with her at all? Is it really worth competing over? Even if you build it fast, sitting there stacking blocks the whole time is still really boring. The moment that casual word boring dropped, her fingertips gripped the Lego piece in a death hold. Her knuckles turned white, and the plastic piece creaked under the pressure. Jealousy and anger completely swallowed her reason. Her tone was laced with biting sarcasm. "Yeah, I guess it's not as interesting as that butterfly. Go be with your new crush." I instantly realized something was wrong. Her bad mood from start to finish today. The spearhead was aimed directly at me. I hadn't provoked her at all these past 2 days. Even if we bickered, it wouldn't lead to this kind of passive aggressiveness. A wave of annoyance surged in my heart. I put down the ukulele, walked straight up to her, and grabbed her collar, forcing her to look up and meet my eyes. "Xiaowen, make yourself clear. What's this about a butterfly and whether I like it or not?" My face was extremely close to hers, my warm breath brushing against her cheek. Mu Xingwan's brain completely short-circuited. Her pupils suddenly dilated, her whole body freezing, unable to move. Only one thought remained in her mind. So handsome. The more I look, the handsomer he gets. Speak. She was so dizzy with infatuation that the thoughts she had hidden for so long flipped out uncontrollably. "Didn't you exchange gifts with Hao Shusheng and accept the butterfly he made? You clearly said you wouldn't chase him anymore." But the moment she said it, she regretted it. She had been too blunt, completely exposing her feelings. What if I felt disgusted and distanced myself from her? Just as she was about to speak to cover it up, I frowned first, looking at her with eyes full of confusion. Who spread that rumor? Does it matter if it's true or false? Of course it matters. I need to root out whoever is gossiping behind my back. The word rumor smashed into her ears. Mu Xingwan froze completely. But it's not true? It was an elective class assignment. Everyone's models were collected and then distributed randomly. I just happened to draw his butterfly. I threw it in the trash a long time ago. Threw it in the trash. It was an irrelevant thing to begin with. Trash belongs in the trash can. At this moment, the extreme tension that had been building up in Mu Xingwan for 2 days instantly vanished. Her taut nerves completely relaxed. What was the news you said you wanted to tell me earlier? I'll be staying at your house for a while. Hit by this double surprise, Mu Xingwan froze on the spot, her heart pounding wildly in her chest. A brilliant light exploded in her eyes. The peace of mind that had been shattered by jealousy over the past 2 days finally returned completely. What? Am I not welcome? Then I'll leave. I raised an eyebrow, pretending to pull my hand back. Unexpectedly, the next second, the grip on my wrist suddenly tightened. Mu Xingwan threw herself right into my arms. My chest bumped against her head. I let out a low cry of pain. The sensation was incredible, but she was much stronger than I imagined. At that moment, the girl's whisper reached my ears, carrying an unconcealable tremble. Really, Jianjian? I tilted my head down and instantly met those deep eyes. The gloomy, irritable, crazy little puppy from just a moment ago was now brimming with a sweet, intoxicating smile. It wasn't until this moment that I suddenly realized this girl hadn't believed me from start to finish about not chasing House Xuesheng anymore. That was why, when she heard those rumors, she completely lost control and went crazy. Oh, I see. You, Mu Xiaowan, never believed me at all, did you? Right after, I curled my fingers and aimed at the girl's smooth forehead, swiftly delivering a few punishing flicks. After flicking her, I immediately covered my face tightly, terrified of a counterattack. Who knew that not only did the girl not get mad, but the doting affection in her eyes grew so thick it practically dripped. The corners of her lips curled into a wicked smile. From now on, I'll only believe my Jianjian. Miss, this is the last box. Right at that moment, the butler pushed the door open, carrying a box of Legos. The next second, he froze completely in place. He saw the young miss sitting on the floor, her arms wrapped tightly around me. Her perky nose was pressed right against my smooth forehead, and her lowered eyes were filled with a crazy possessiveness, as if she was ready to devour me at any moment. Meanwhile, I was awkwardly covering my face, terrified she'd do something out of line. The package in the butler's hands instantly crashed to the floor. He turned pale with shock, bowing repeatedly as he backed away. Apologies, Miss Young Master. Sorry to intrude. I didn't see anything. That loud crash finally snapped Mu Xingwan back to reality. She pulled her hands back as if electrocuted. Catching her distraction out of the corner of my eye, I turned to bolt. Since you're building Legos, I won't keep you company. However, before I could even finish my sentence, my wrist was grabbed once again. Wait. What now? I widened my eyes. You haven't played a song for me yet. Mu Xingwan tossed aside the Lego block in her hand, her eyebrows flying up. This thing is too boring. Your little Hawaiian guitar sounds much better. And so late at night in the back mountains of Diyuan No. 1, the girl and I quietly slipped into the tranquil darkness. In the distance, the butler watched our retreating figures and silently waved away all the servants. These two kids are clearly already dating. After that, she and I crossed the fields. Past the courts, the lake was crystal clear. The lakeside was cool and quiet. The full moon reflected on the sparkling surface of the lake like crushed silver pouring down. This is way too beautiful, I couldn't help but exclaim. Right after, I watched Mu Xingwan skillfully walk to the shore and untie a wooden boat. Mu Xiaowan, you want to listen to music here? With a gentle evening breeze, boating under the moonlight, and a handsome guy playing music for you. You really know how to enjoy life. Mu Xingwan wrapped the mooring rope around her wrist and shot me a sidelong glance. Learned it from you. Those 4 words suddenly awakened memories of my glorious childhood exploits. When I was 4, right in this undeveloped, dangerous body of water, I secretly climbed onto a broken little bamboo raft behind everyone's back and even dragged Mu Xingwan along with me. As a result, both families mobilized everyone, crying and shouting in a panic. But in the end, they found the 2 little rascals sleeping soundly on the bamboo raft in the middle of the lake. After returning home, our punishment was naturally extremely tragic. Who are you throwing shade at? Weren't you the one eagerly following me onto the boat back then? Don't tell me you didn't want to. I raised an eyebrow and shot back. I wanted to. Mu Xingwan's lips curled up slightly. Then, she held out her hand. Handsome, are you willing to get on my boat now? I lifted my chin proudly, deliberately hesitating for a few seconds, before calmly extending my right hand. I suppose I can make an exception. My honor. Mu Xingwan's hand instantly gripped mine tightly, and she easily pulled me onto the wooden boat. The next second, I pulled a harmonica out of my pocket. Don't even think about making me perform solo. We're collaborating. Mu Xingwan smoothly took the harmonica. Instantly, my unique, aggressive scent hit her nose, making her heart flutter. Then what should we play? Our eyes met in the darkness, and we actually spoke in unison. Childhood Summer. As I played the ukulele, the loose hair on my forehead blew wildly in the wind, revealing my strikingly handsome features. The crisp sound of the strings and singing echoed leisurely under the moonlight. At this moment, Mu Xingwan was completely mesmerized. What I was plucking wasn't just the strings, but her heartstrings that had long since spiraled out of control. The surging tide of love was almost enough to completely fill the clear lake. If anyone had walked by, they would definitely have seen the burning, deep affection in her eyes, hotter than the bright moon in the sky. Why aren't you playing? I looked up in confusion. Mu Xingwan suddenly averted her gaze, guiltily raising the harmonica to her lips. The melodious sound of the harmonica instantly intertwined and blended with the cheerful ukulele. The air was filled with the scent of childhood summers. But as I watched her, I found myself getting a bit distracted too. The evening breeze brushed through the girl's long hair. In the interplay of light and shadow, her features were striking, as beautiful as a fairy of the lake. In the blink of an eye, we had both grown up. The little boat gently swayed as it drifted toward the center of the lake. Mu Xingwan greedily watched the rippling waves, wishing we could drift to the end of the world, just floating like this until our hair turned white. Why aren't you living on campus anymore? I suddenly stopped playing. Mu Xingwan's expression stiffened slightly. Was I? How come I didn't know about that? Stop pretending. Auntie Lanlin said it herself. Don't even try to deny it. Fine, even if I was. I've already dropped the idea now. Why? My eyes were full of curiosity. Mu Xingwan's dark eyes narrowed slightly, carrying a hint of a playful smile. What's wrong, Yang Xiaojin? Are you that eager for me to live on campus, so you can hog my big room? Wow, you're guarding against me again. I bared my teeth. I have to be on guard. What if you whisper some nonsense to my mom, and she decides she doesn't even want her own daughter anymore? I raise an eyebrow smugly. Well, if I step in, I guarantee you'll get kicked out of the house. Mu Xingwan's eyes crinkled with a smile. Then I guess I'll just have to leech off you for the rest of my life. I leaned in mysteriously. You can leech off me, sure. But before that, can you do me a favor? What favor? I want to go home. Since I had such a huge falling out with my family before, I have to bring back some sincerity. If you don't help me, I'll have no choice but to crash at your place forever and scheme for your family fortune. However, helping me out was, for Mu Xingwan, a choice that required absolutely no thinking. Hearing the phrase, crash at your place forever, Mu Xingwan suddenly froze in place. This unintentional remark held an ultimate temptation. It even made her instantly breed dark, selfish desires. However, reason ultimately triumphed over greed. He decided to fulfill all my wishes. How do you want me to help? Go to the Yang family and plead your case? No, no, no. I waved my hands repeatedly. It turned out what I lacked to go home wasn't a persuader, but the crucial credits to save me from failing. Ever since the reading room incident that made me quit the group chat, I had completely lost my elective credits too. Right now, I was still a long way from the passing line. If I couldn't graduate, I'd have no face to see my parents. My eyes were full of expectation. Aren't you taking economic thinking lately? That super popular course gives a ton of extra credits, but the threshold is ridiculously high. Normal people can't even get a spot. But Mu Xingwan, as Professor Feng Shuping's most prized student, if she stepped in, she could definitely get a special quota approved. Listening to my endless scheming, a trace of wild joy actually rippled in Mu Xingwan's heart. To think I wasn't just fixated on house weshing, but had actually been paying attention to her movements all along. I can do that, sure. But what's in it for me? Faced with this blatant extortion, I simply put down my instrument and pressed myself closely against her. The next second, I reached out and tugged at the girl's hem. My innocent eyes were full of pitiful pleading. Sister Wan. Mu Xingwan suddenly gasped. Her bones instantly went soft, yet I remained completely oblivious, unleashing a combo of shameless whining. Please? Pretty please? I'm begging you. Please, please. You're the best. Mu Xingwan gritted her teeth hard. Even her delicate face twisted slightly from the sheer effort of holding back. She managed to squeeze out a sentence through her teeth. Who did you learn this from? Don't worry about that. Just tell me. Do you agree or not? Not only did I not hold back, I leaned in even closer. That hint of aggressive aura was like an intoxicating poison, instantly washing away Mu Xingwan's last shred of reason. At this moment, let alone a special quota, even if I asked for her life, she wouldn't hesitate. But she just couldn't bear for this sweet torture to end so soon. She could only use her last ounce of self-control to forcefully push me away. Don't try that on me. I'm not buying it. Her trembling voice, and the corners of her mouth that were about to reach her ears, had already completely exposed her. Seeing me, her proud little childhood friend, forced to bow my head, Mu Xingwan was actually thrilled to death inside. But just as she was about to raise her hands and surrender, my patience completely ran out. Mu Xiaowan, are you going to agree or not? If you don't, I'll jump right off this boat. As soon as the words left my mouth, I quickly walked to the narrow bow of the boat. Mu Xingwan watched my slender figure swaying in the wind. It wasn't until she snapped out of it that she let out a muffled laugh. Yang Xiaojin, just to get me to give you CPR. You really will stop at nothing. You're disgusting. I glared at her fiercely. If you know it's disgusting, then hurry up and agree. However, catching a glimpse of the fleeting worry in the girl's eyes, I instantly felt emboldened. I put my hands on my hips smugly. No, I'm going to jump. I want to make you feel guilty, make you regret it, make you lose your little childhood friend forever. All right then, jump. To avoid feeling guilty and regretful, this childhood sweetheart will personally go down and die with you. Mu Xingwan took the opportunity to stand up. Not only did she not stop me, she gave a lazy smile instead, and elegantly opened her arms. Who knew that, as soon as she stood up, the originally balanced boat would instantly rock violently. Looking at the pitch black, bottomless depths of the lake, I completely panicked. Don't move. The boat's going to flip. What are you afraid of? I'm right here with you. Mu Xingwan looked teasing and actually stepped closer, feeling the overwhelming pressure. I was both angry and annoyed and could only helplessly compromise. Okay. I won't jump. All right? Don't move. Watching the rocking boat, I backed away in terror. I didn't expect Mu Xingwan to directly pull the mooring rope tight, yanking me right to her side. She reached out condescendingly, her tone carrying an undeniable authority. Are you going to joke about your safety again next time? Having just escaped death, I instantly broke down, loudly clamoring that I was going ashore to tattle to Shu Lan, who knew the girl wouldn't show a hint of fear, and even curled her lips into a wicked smirk. You boarded my pirate ship, and you still think you can get off? Meanwhile, in the villa's living room at 11 p.m., Mu Jianjun, who had just gotten off work, was eating grapes fed to him by his wife, Su Lan. Hearing that their daughter, Mu Xingwan, was currently accompanying me on a trip to the back mountain, his eyes were instantly filled with surprise. For the past 2 days, their daughter had clearly been in a slump, ignoring everyone she saw, to think she actually had the mood to go sightseeing now. But before he could ask for details, a burst of crisp, cheerful laughter suddenly came from outside the door. Immediately after, the dignified chairman of the Mu Group and the elite socialite actually scrambled to hide in the bathroom in a panic. Peeking through the crack of the bathroom door, this wealthy couple looked incredibly guilty of eavesdropping. However, when they got a clear look at the scene outside, they exchanged bewildered glances. Their biological daughter, who usually kept a straight face all day, was currently looking at me beside her, smiling as brightly as a sunflower in the backyard. Mu Jianjun couldn't help but sigh inwardly. This girl was even more proactive than he was back in the day. Xu Lan's eyes were even more filled with joy, repeatedly praising the son-in-law she had her eyes on since childhood. He's amazing as expected. Just as the elders were secretly rejoicing, the atmosphere outside suddenly took a sharp turn. I'll forgive you this time, but next time, don't blame me for showing no mercy. Faced with my tsundere warning, Mu Xingwan chuckled and accepted it completely. Who knew that just as we reached the stairs, the girl's footsteps would suddenly halt. She turned her head abruptly, a terrifying undercurrent surging in her eyes. On the cruise, that butterfly you randomly picked up, why is it in his hands? Faced with this sudden interrogation, my eyes were full of confusion. I had absolutely no idea how my origami ended up in Hao Xusheng's hands. I could only brush it off casually, calling it a coincidence. However, Mu Xingwan wasn't buying it at all. Not only did her gaze grow fiercer, her tone even revealed a domineering possessiveness. I don't care. I want one too. As soon as she spoke, she grabbed my wrist and dragged me upstairs. Hiding in the dark, Shu Lan only felt a gust of wind blow past. She thought these two youngsters couldn't wait to get back to their room, to get intimate. Mu Jianjun went with the flow, taking his wife's hand, ready to head back to their room for some alone time. But they never expected that. Halfway there, a sound would come from upstairs, an extremely tragic cry of resistance. No! This scream instantly froze the couple in their tracks. Meanwhile, inside the activity room, I was scared pale, turning around to flee. But my meager strength was absolutely nothing against the girl in front of me. As the door was heavily locked, Mu Xingwan stepped closer and closer. Her figure instantly turned into a towering wall, and her gloomy face exuded an intensely aggressive aura. Right then, the Mu parents who had rushed over happened to hear their biological daughter's vicious threat. Even if you don't want it, you're going to take it. Outside the door, the Mu couple's nerves instantly tensed. But I don't know how. My voice trembled, filled with deep helplessness. Immediately after, the girl's coaxing voice pierced through the door. If you don't know how, I'll teach you. Aim it right here, and stick it in. Hearing these words, Xu Lan and Mu Jianjun's faces instantly turned deathly pale. To make matters worse, an extremely ambiguous scream echoed from inside the room. Ah, it hurts. Mu Xiaowan, you're hurting me. Sorry, I was careless just now. I'll be careful from now on. Wah, you jerk. I told you I didn't like it, but you still forced me to do it. When is this going to end? At least a whole night. Focus. And maybe I'll let you off by midnight. No way. Doing it for so long, I'll die. Please just let me go. Hearing these wild, scandalous words, the two outside trembled with anger. Shu Lan gritted her teeth furiously and kicked the door open in a blazing rage. Mu Xingwan, you little. Mu Jianjun abruptly covered his eyes, terrified of seeing some indecent scene. But the sight that greeted them after pushing the door open left the wealthy couple completely dumbfounded. Everywhere they looked, the floor was scattered with colorful Lego, bricks, and blueprints. My childhood sweetheart and I were fully dressed, sitting properly on the floor, looking back at them with utter confusion. The air instantly fell dead, silent. Xu Lan's gaze slowly moved down, staring intently at the Lego pieces in our hands. The furious scolding in her throat suddenly choked up. The dignified elite socialite blushed furiously in front of the younger generation for the first time, unable to utter a single word. Seeing the situation about to spiral out of control, Mu Jianjun quickly stepped forward to cover his wife's face. Your mom just thinks it's too late. Staying up late is bad for your health. You still have to get up early for school tomorrow. Hurry up and let Jian go back to rest. I never expected that as soon as he said this, I jumped 3 feet high in joy. I swiftly hid behind the elders and secretly shot the girl, a highly mocking pinky finger. I told you I didn't like building Legos, yet you still forced me. I'm blacklisting this stupid activity. However, Mu Xingwan just coldly threw back a gaze carrying a hidden warning. In the blink of an eye, It was the next morning. Two top-tier luxury cars parked steadily in front of Diyuan number 1. As soon as Shuying stepped out of the car, she saw Sufei wearing headphones and rocking out wildly. "Turn that off quick. Careful, or you'll get caught in the crossfire." Sufei suddenly snapped awake. Sister Wan had just been used by the school heartthrob these past 2 days. It couldn't even be considered a breakup. Her mood was definitely at rock bottom. If she heard this sweet love song, she'd definitely vent her anger on her. Soon after, the butler welcomed the two into the hall, stating bluntly that the young miss was too tired last night and hadn't gotten up yet. The two simply leaned back on the sofa, pulling out their phones to start a game and kill time. Right at that moment, my lean and tall figure suddenly appeared by the second-floor railing. Stretching my arms, I groggily opened my sleepy eyes and saw the unfamiliar guests downstairs. A flash of surprise crossed my eyes, before I broke into a bright smile. "Good morning, you guys." In that single moment, and Shuying and Sufei on the sofa froze completely. Even their breathing came to a dead halt. A massive tsunami of thoughts crashed through their minds. The universally recognized school heartthrob Yang Jian. Why was he wearing pajamas, appearing in Mu Xingwan's mansion? Their imaginations ran completely wild. Could it be that after Sister Wan found out the school heartthrob was just using her, her love turned to hate, and she completely went to the dark side? In order to have him, she didn't hesitate to use her power to forcefully imprison him, torturing and punishing him day and night. Then she suddenly remembered the butler's words. The young miss played too late last night. This was absolutely ironclad proof. The sugar baby game that others only dared to play at 30. She dared to pull off at 19. Truly worthy of being the lawless eldest lady of the elite circle. Just then, Mu Xingwan slowly walked down the stairs. Her gaze instantly locked onto me in the living room, her eyes softening with endless affection. If only she could look at him like this every day, how wonderful would that be? The corners of her lips curled up slightly. Just as she stepped closer, a mood-killing question suddenly rang in her ears. "Yang Jian, why are you in Xingwan's house?" Only then did Mu Xingwan notice that there were two living, breathing people sitting right there. "Why are you guys here?" Sufei gritted her teeth. They had been sitting here for ages, but it turned out that smile just now was entirely for the school heartthrob. It had absolutely nothing to do with her sisters. However, compared to bros before hoes, Sufei cared more about another major issue. She abruptly stood up, squeezing out an accusation through her teeth. "You actually betrayed the organization and lost your innocence first. You're no longer pure." Even though she kept her voice extremely low, I heard it loud and clear. After grasping the meaning of those words, I turned my head in absolute horror. Catching this guarded look, Mu Xingwan's temples instantly throbbed. She glared fiercely at Sufei. "What kind of nonsense are you spouting?" Yet Sufei looked even more disdainful. "The witnesses and physical evidence are all here. You beast, you actually dare to do it but not admit it." Seeing the girl so eager to explain, I couldn't help but chuckle. "I'm just crashing here." Although Sufei was afraid of getting beaten up, her burning soul of gossip simply couldn't be suppressed. Crashing here is what she fully expected to hear some juicy answer like boyfriend or victim. But to her absolute surprise, I walked straight up to Mu Xingwan with my milk. The perfect 18-centimeter height difference, paired with our equally matched, top-tier good looks, exuded a sense of being a match made in heaven, as her best bro. And Shuying keenly noticed that, when Mu Xingwan heard the word bro, the curve of her lips instantly dropped, and in my eyes, there was actually a hint of something even I hadn't noticed. Protectiveness. Now Sufei was completely frantic. "Impossible. Sister Wan, aren't I your best sister?" She immediately jumped up to seek confirmation from the person in question. "Sister Wan, say something." As a result, I proudly raised an eyebrow, as if demanding to know who was the real number one. Mu Xingwan coldly swept a glance at Sufei. "Step aside." Just those few words directly struck Sufei so hard she collapsed onto the sofa, her heart so broken she couldn't breathe. Seeing Sufei's miserable state, I laughed until I was bending back and forth. Then, I put down my milk glass and put away my joking mood. Immediately after, I revealed the real background between me and Mu Xingwan, spilling everything. After hearing this, Shuang and Sufei looked as if they'd been struck by lightning. Even Shuang, with her IQ of 140, found it utterly absurd at this moment. "You're the young master of the Yang family, the richest family in the capital, and you and Sister Wan are actually childhood sweethearts who grew up together." Meeting their incredulous gazes, I tilted my head and nodded. "Yep." Hearing me finally admit our bond, in front of outsiders, Mu Xingwan's tight lips curled up wildly once again. At this very moment, Shuang finally saw the light. No wonder Xingwan was so meticulously caring towards me. This wasn't some sudden lust at all, but a long, premeditated, deep affection. But Sufei was still completely baffled. "If that's the case, then why did you hide your identity as the richest young master?" She threw out the most fatal question, her eyes full of confusion. "Not only did you pretend to be poor and hide your relationship, you even went out of your way to like that penniless Hao Shuasheng." All of this completely defied the behavioral logic of a wealthy heir. To Sufei, wealthy families and ordinary people were like two parallel lines that could never intersect. Those tropes of young masters marrying poor girls were nothing but illusory bubbles in TV dramas. Yet my vigorous pursuit of Hao Shuasheng carried a crazy determination of never giving up until the goal was reached. She really couldn't figure out what exactly that penniless Hao Shuasheng had to deserve it. I looked dazed, not knowing how to answer for a moment. The next second, an orange accurately smashed into Su Fei's arms. Mu Xingwan's eyes flashed with an impatient, cold light. Do you have too much free time this early in the morning, talking so much? I don't like oranges. Do you like eating fists? Just then, a sound came from the second-floor staircase. Xu Lan and Mu Jianjun slowly walked down the stairs. Su Fei instantly put away her cynical attitude and respectfully went up to greet them. Good morning, Uncle, Auntie. I came to find Sister Wan today to go check out the newly acquired TYJ Esports Club. Mentioning this hottest team on the market, Su Fei didn't forget to flatter her a bit. My little bit of talent is nothing in front of Sister Wan. We were only able to acquire this club because she held the fort. Hearing this, I looked at the girl beside me in confusion. In my memory, she was never that into games. How did her skills improve so drastically after just a few years apart? I raised my handsome eyebrows. Take me to play sometime when you're free? Sure. Mu Xingwan tilted her head up slightly, so gentle it could drown someone. But first, help me build the aircraft carrier. I unceremoniously rolled my eyes. No way. Meanwhile, the Mu elder's attention had completely shifted. Xu Lan grabbed my hand, her eyes full of unconcealable affection. Jian, Auntie specially had the kitchen prepare both Chinese and Western breakfast. Come see if they suit your taste. What do you want to wear today? Auntie will help you pick. I love dressing you up all handsome. Right after, Mu Jinjun also leaned in. Jian, Uncle was too busy yesterday and didn't get to welcome you properly. Tonight, I absolutely have to throw you a grand welcome party. Left completely hanging on the side, and Xueying and Su Fei exchanged bewildered glances. How was this entertaining a young master from a prominent family? This was clearly pampering him like their own son-in-law. In the blink of an eye, the scene cut back to Kyoto University. Just as I stepped out of the Changde building, I ran straight into three familiar figures: Hao Xusheng, Du Lacey, and Vixen. These three, who shouldn't have appeared in the art department, were now staring straight at me, blocking my path. I frowned slightly, and was just about to detour around them, when they directly blocked me. Hey, handsome. You really kept us waiting. Vixen leaned forward with a face full of smiles. I quietly took a half step back. Can I help you? I came specifically to apologize to you. Vixen put on a sincere look, but her eyes were full of calculation. Getting your clothes dirty in the reading room last week was all my fault for drinking too much and being clumsy. To make it up to you, I'll definitely invite you to our next roommate gathering, especially the ones with Xuexing. Not only that, she even threw out what she thought was a heavy-hitting bargaining chip. Xuexing has already washed that shirt by hand. Once the minor flaws are fixed, we'll send it right over to you. You're a bigger person, so you definitely won't hold it against me, right? She was certain that this relentlessly pestering school heartthrob would take the bait. However, my gaze gradually turned as cold as frost. I will. Instantly froze the smiles on their faces completely. Vixen froze on the spot. Du Lacey beside her also widened her eyes. I said I will. Do you think I have to accept your apology just because you offered one? My expression remained cold as I glanced at this group of self-righteous people. If there's nothing else, I'm leaving. Don't show your faces in front of me again. Hu Legion gritted her teeth in secret. Who does he think he is? Acting all high and mighty. He used to be like a lost puppy, clinging to Hao Xusheng and never letting go. I turned to leave. However, the usually silent Hao Xuexing suddenly spoke up. Yang Jian. He looked up. You don't need to leave the group. I've already submitted the team project. Everyone will receive a perfect score. Immediately, Du Lacey chimed in from the side. Hey, school hunk. You know better than anyone how fair and impartial Hao Xusheng is. He even turned down a request from the principal's son. This is the very first time he's made an exception for you. An exception for me? I found it absolutely ridiculous. A cold smirk played on my lips. These people claim to be apologizing, but every word they say feels like they're granting me some sort of charity. Their arrogant, greasy attitude is honestly nauseating. I'm honored, but I don't give a damn about this exception. To my surprise, Hao Xusheng maintained his condescending posture. Then what about your credits? He looked at me with certainty. It was as if he had me by the throat, just waiting for me to tuck my tail and crawl back to him. At that moment, Du Lacey started applying pressure again. Don't be stubborn. Giving up your credits? It's not worth delaying your graduation. Hao Xusheng is already preparing for his internship. He's entering the world of high finance. The subtext in her words couldn't be clearer. Once Hao Xusheng becomes a big shot in investment banking, making tens of millions a year, you, Yang Jian, will be someone he's far beyond your reach. Hu Legion added with a mocking face. Just join back already. Careful, or Hao Xusheng might get upset and withdraw the assignment. You'll regret it when it's too late. Just as she finished speaking, a burst of laughter came from the top of the stairs. Several people who had just finished an academic seminar, including academicians and professors, were slowly walking down. Suddenly, the most prestigious among them, Professor Feng Shuping, paused her gaze. She walked straight toward us. The girls quickly bowed their heads in greeting. Du Lacey excitedly poked Hao Xuexing's shoulder. Why is Professor Feng coming to see you? She must be giving you a recommendation letter for your internship. You're really about to skyrocket now. They were certain that this immense stroke of luck was meant for the top student of the finance department. Never did they expect that Feng Shuping would stop abruptly, just a meter away from them. Her gaze bypassed the three of them and looked directly at me in the back. "Are you student Yang Jian from class 253? I nodded in response. Feng Shuping reached out her hand with a warm smile. "About the elective you wanted to take. Mu Xinwan has already briefed me on everything, since we happened to run into each other today. Why don't you come with me to the lecture hall now? You can get familiar with the course material. Is now a good time?" My eyes widened in surprise. I didn't expect the arrangements to be made so quickly. Mu Xinwan's efficiency is truly terrifying. It's convenient. Very convenient. A smile lit up my face. I followed Professor Feng with a light step, leaving the three girls frozen in place. Their faces turned pale with shock. Hu Laijin was speechless. Professor Feng's core research course, and he's taking it as an elective? He's an art student. Even someone like Hao Shuasheng, the top student in finance, has to submit an application a month in advance. On the other side, Du Lisi snorted bitterly. "Didn't you hear? Mu Xinwan recommended him. One word from the princess of Jingxuan is worth more than half a lifetime of our hard work." Recalling the moment I walked past them, with a mocking curve on my lips, Hu Lijin felt like her face had been struck by a loud slap. It burned with a stinging pain. Losing her cool, she began to spread rumors recklessly. With Mu Xinwan's popularity, there's no shortage of handsome guys. Why would she waste a favor from Professor Feng on him? There must be some shady deal involved. But before she could finish, a cold, terrifying gaze suddenly shot toward her. How Swishing's face was as dark as stagnant water. Hu Lijin instantly remembered the despair of being held underwater in the reading room. She quickly changed her tune. "I mean, is Mu Xinwan actually chasing him? A rich girl like her, who's seen it all. What kind of man hasn't she been around?" Then Du Lisi chimed in with conviction. "If Mu Xinwan really wanted to chase him, she would have done it long ago. Besides, Yang Jian is head over heels for you. There's no way he'd ever respond to her." However, as Du Lisi watched Hao Suesheng staring intently at my back, her heart skipped a beat. Yang Jian is playing a hell of a game. When he was desperately chasing her, he was ignored. Now that he's acting cold, it's actually triggered Hao Suesheng's possessiveness. Mu Xinwan's appearance has given Hao Shusheng a real sense of crisis. Meanwhile, at the International Trade Building's lecture hall, Mu Xinwan's mission was a success. I had just sent her a graduation photo. To my surprise, barely 10 minutes later, Mu Xinwan appeared before me like she had teleported. I looked at her in shock. "Your name isn't on the class schedule. What are you doing here?" Suddenly, Su Fei appeared behind her, wiping sweat and looking miserable. Sister Wan didn't even finish her game after getting the message. She ditched the match right at the enemy's base and ran here. And Shui Ying smiled, shook her head, and sat in the back row. Then, Mu Xinwan casually tossed her book next to mine. She claimed the seat closest to me without a word. Su Fei leaned in with a pained expression. "Little brother Jianjin, can I sit next to you?" Scram. The woman's voice was sharp and decisive, ruthlessly cutting off his delusions. I became even more curious and asked why. She sat down lazily, her narrow eyes glancing at me playfully. "You're the one I recommended. If your performance is pathetic, it's my reputation on the line." I let out a cold snort, refusing to back down. "Who are you looking down on?" "With my brilliance, I'll definitely save your old face. I used to be a top student back in the day. It was only because of ping pong and chasing someone that my grades took a nosedive. But the next second, reality hit me like a ton of bricks. The blackboard, full of advanced economics, looked like gibberish to me. Without a foundation, I couldn't keep up with Professor Feng at all. I quietly looked around and felt even more overwhelmed. Su Fei usually acts like a slacker, but he's actually a top student who runs an esports club. And Shui Ying is a dual major genius in the medical department. As for Mu Xinwan next to me, she's a total freak of nature. The problems Professor Feng spent half the class explaining, she solved in just a couple of minutes. For the rest of the time, she spent it staring at me quite blatantly. "Little Yang Jian, what are you looking at?" She twirled her pen skillfully, clearly displeased that I had glanced at the back row. I felt a wave of frustration. Surrounded by elite geniuses, how can I take these trash grades home and ask for forgiveness? So, I sat up straight and pointed at my workbook to ask for help. "Is the answer to this one B? It's C, you little dummy." Mu Xinwan chuckled and lightly flicked my forehead. I immediately frowned, my face written with resistance. "If you're going to mock me, I'll ask someone else." And Shui Ying. But just as I was about to turn, a soft hand suddenly cupped my cheek. She pulled me back toward her with absolute dominance. The distance between us vanished instantly. We were so close it felt like she was pulling me into her arms. I happen to like little dummies. In the back row, Su Fei secretly mimicked that heart-fluttering whisper. He immediately broke out in goosebumps. He stared at their backs in pure horror. Something so sickeningly sweet actually came out of the mouth of the cold goddess. "Sister Wan?" I glared at her with wide eyes and bared my teeth in a threat. "Call me a little dummy one more time, and I'll tell every guy in the department about how you used to wear open-seat pants and crawl through dog holes when you were a kid." I thought this would make her back off. Instead, she wasn't intimidated at all. She narrowed her eyes meaningfully. "You remember me being half-naked that clearly? What else did you see? I also saw you getting chased by a dog." Without warning, I opened my mouth and bit down hard on her finger. In that instant, an intense, warm, and moist sensation surged through her. Mu Xinwan's pupils constricted. It felt like someone had gripped her heart. Her scalp tingled with electricity. "Stop it." Her voice was incredibly raspy. I thought I had actually heard her. I let go, feeling quite proud of myself. "Scared now?" Mu Xinwan could only turn her head away, clenching her damp fingertip. She fought to regain her crumbling self-control. Scared. I'm terrified. If you keep teasing me like this, I might just do something completely inappropriate in public. Then, what was supposed to be a normal tutoring session took a turn. Unlike the way students usually think, Mu Xinwan started from the simplest theoretical concepts. She broke everything down, step by step, all the way to the formulas. She was 100 times more patient than a kindergarten teacher. When I looked up, the admiration in my eyes hit Mu Xinwan right in the heart. But she didn't look away. She couldn't even hide the smile on her face. We leaned closer and closer, until from a distance, we looked like we were melting into each other. Sufei was stunned. This isn't just childhood friends. They're more clingy than a couple in the honeymoon phase. However, after 2 long lectures, I finally succumbed to exhaustion. After my 3rd yawn, the pen slipped from my hand, my head tilted to the side, about to hit the hard desk. At the very last second, a hand steadily caught my face. Mu Xinwan held me like that, staring motionlessly at me as I slept in her palm. Her gaze was burning and intense. Sufei waved a hand in front of her eyes, but couldn't distract her for even a second. Sufei couldn't help but complain to Xiaogu. I'm going to choke on all this PDA. But Shuang just sighed as she watched them. You should be glad you've never met someone like her. Otherwise, you'd be completely trapped. Look at Sister Wan's predatory gaze. If she doesn't get what she wants in the end, she'll definitely go insane. Just then, a phone notification rang out, and Shuang checked her phone. Her relaxed expression gradually darkened. Then, she pushed the screen in front of Mu Xinwan. Xinwan, look at this. On the screen was an electronic application form. Finance class, 251. Hao Shuxing. Application for elective, economic thinking. Professor, Feng Shuping. The next second, the tenderness in Mu Xinwan's eyes vanished. It was replaced by a cold, sharp chill. Sufei looked at my peaceful sleeping face and immediately sensed danger. Hao Xusheng didn't come earlier or later, but chose right now to take this economics elective. The whole school knows how much he used to reject me. But now, it's clear he's going crazy trying to win me back after losing me. Sufei was frantic. And Shuiying, hurry up and reject him. And Shuiying nodded, but her voice was heavy with concern. Xinwan, don't you think Hao Xusheng's attitude toward Yang Jian has completely changed? It's not just a change. He's being aggressively proactive, from swapping models in class last time to shamelessly applying for the same elective now. Every step he takes is like he's refusing to let go. That in Shu Ying voiced her most fatal suspicion. Yang Jian gave up on chasing Hao Xusheng before, because he never got a response. But now if he starts being affectionate, he won't be there anymore. Before the words could even settle, a chilling, murderous intent suddenly surged in Mu Xingwan's eyes. That is absolutely impossible. Years ago, Hao Xusheng heartlessly stole my heart and dragged Mu Xingwan straight into a bottomless hell. Every single day was spent in extreme agony, suffering through the bitterness of that fate. Until now, I finally waited long enough for him to change his mind. I promise I won't like Hao Xuesheng anymore. I'll date him again, move into his house, and be inseparable from him. If he loses all of this again, he will completely break down. At this moment, Mu Xingwan's fingertips gently brushed against my cheek. I wonder how I should swallow you whole, to keep everyone else away from you. Little prince, you're mine. From the moment you were born, you were meant to be mine alone. Sophie looked completely unconvinced. How could he possibly go back to his ex? And Shuiying asked her back coldly, isn't Sister Wan being proactive enough? To everyone's surprise, Sophie suddenly yanked up her sleeve, frantically showing off the beautiful, firm lines of her arm. Being proactive requires strategy. For a top-tier guy like little brother Yang Jian, who has both the money and the looks, he'll only be attracted by raw hormones. She wiggled her eyebrows crazily at Mu Xingwan, hinting at what kind of female males were attracted to before civilization began. Get it? Later, in the Mu family's back garden, I crept closer with my backpack on. I happened to stumble upon Uncle Mu putting a necklace on Aunt Lanlin, fixing her hair, holding hands, and hugging. It was sickeningly sweet. Just then, a crisp, clear voice rang out unexpectedly from behind me. What are you peeking at, you little thief? I jumped out of my skin, immediately turning around to snap back at Mu Xiaowan. Are you bored or something? I just didn't want to interrupt. Uncle and Aunt's wedding anniversary. Before Mu Xinwan could argue, Mu Jianjun waved enthusiastically from a distance. Then, Xiulen pulled me straight to a massive cake. Tonight is a welcome party specially for you. You are a very important member of our family. Seeing how I was being pampered, Mu Xinwan skillfully uncorked some fruit wine. It was clear she really treated me like a prince, but her tone was full of playful jealousy. Thanks to you, I don't even get this kind of treatment at home. Your Highness, white grape or grapefruit? White grape. Then, Mu Jianjun naturally poured a glass for Xiulen, her favorite, Romani Conti. His eyes were tender, as he whispered, my dear. I watched with envy. Who would have thought this famous couple could still be so passionately in love after all these years? But looking at my own father, he acted so devoted while my mother was alive, yet after she passed, he couldn't even spare a single tear. Just then, Mu Jianjun shared his secret with a gentle look. Well, your aunt was my first love. My eyes widened, full of curiosity. How old were you guys back then? Mu Jianjun couldn't hide his proud smile. At a business gala when I was 16, she didn't even spare me a glance, but she captured my heart instantly. Listening to Uncle Mu brag about their legendary romance, I couldn't hide the envy in my eyes while I was busy envying others. The possessive girl beside me had her eyes only on me. Xiulen cleared her throat, abruptly cutting off her husband's rambling. Mu Jianjun immediately understood his wife's hint. Then, he dropped a bombshell about the past you'd never guess. But Xinwan used to complain in her diary that her parents were the true love, and she was just an accident. I burst out laughing. I turned to her, curious. Really? How come I never knew about this? Mu Xinwan's brow arched as she let out an ambiguous hum. Because you don't care about me. But I had no idea how many dark secrets were hidden in that thick diary. Secrets I was never supposed to touch. Then, Xulan spoke up again, mentioning Mu Xinwan's first birthday grab ceremony. Looking at the seals, coins, and compasses on the floor, I thought for a moment, and guessed. A volleyball. But Xulan shook her head with a smile. No, it was you. I froze in my tracks. Xulan said with certainty. She didn't even look at the things on the floor. She walked right past them and hugged you tight. No one could pull her away. Hearing this, I raised an eyebrow and leaned toward her with a smug look. So Mu Xinwan has been obsessed with me since she was a baby? Faced with her parents' teasing, Mu Xinwan touched her burning ear. A rare look of shyness crossed her face. Yes. I'm so obsessed I can't help myself. Those seemingly casual words instantly triggered a wave of guilt in my heart. Because of how Xu Sheng's interference these past few years, I had created so much distance between me and my best childhood friend. All those missed moments made me want to make it up to her right now. Without a word, I grabbed a glass and started mixing different fruit wines and ice, looking at the weird liquid I concocted. Mu Xinwan's brow furrowed. Yang Jian, are you trying to murder your childhood friend? I tilted my chin up. You drinking it or not? She picked up the glass without hesitation. I'd drink it even if you gave me poison. Just as she was about to down it, I covered the top of the glass. I lifted my chin arrogantly. I wanted to force her to say that specific name out loud. QQ Mimi Delicious Nalu Lumi Wine. Faced with such a ridiculous line, Mu Xinwan laughed in spite of herself. We started teasing and bickering back and forth, seeing us flirting so shamelessly. Xulan's heart practically melted. She excitedly nudged her husband. Mu Jianjun nodded, but there was a hint of worry in his eyes. He saw it more clearly than anyone. His daughter was falling, even deeper than he had with his first love. It would be fine if we ended up together, but if we didn't. Mu Jianjun didn't dare think further. As a father, and as someone who also had a soulmate, he knew exactly what would happen if Mu Xinwan lost me. At that moment, the root of my conflict with my family flashed through his mind. The Yang family? Mu Jianjun's expression darkened, but the next second, my expectant voice rang out. Well, is it good? I leaned on my arms, looking at Mu Xinwan eagerly. After taking a sip, her expression became unreadable. This drink is just like... I blinked. Like me? Mu Xinwan looked at me, her voice dropping low, knowing it's dangerous, yet unable to stop myself from getting closer. I was confused. What kind of description is that? But I wanted to hear more. So I asked, and after you get closer? Mu Xinwan smirked, a smile slowly spreading in her eyes. She tilted her head back and finished the glass. I'm addicted. Now I get it. She just meant it's delicious. So delicious, she can't put it down. She just had to be indirect about complimenting me. I was pretty satisfied with that reaction. I leaned in and whispered in her ear. Then after you're done, shall we go to your room? Poofed. Mu Xinwan nearly spat out her wine. She looked up sharply, her dark eyes lighting up instantly. Her ears turned bright red. What are you saying? I'm the one who thinks it's weird. Why are you overreacting? Didn't we used to hang out in each other's rooms all the time? Remember when we were kids on the bed? We'd wrap ourselves in sheets and play emperor and concubine. You actually looked pretty cute in a dress back then. Mu Xinwan fell silent. So, I was just talking about playing house. The spark that had suddenly flared in his eyes vanished instantly. He stared at me intently, gritting his teeth with a hint of resentment. How long ago was that? Yang Jian, do you even see me? As a woman? Did I not sense the danger at all? Are you shy now that we're grown up? It's fine. You don't have to see me as a man either. Too late. Mu Xinwan set down her wine glass. In her dreams, she had already made him hers. She wanted to play more than just house, so she refused flatly. No, I just wanted to go to her room, to get to know her better, and maybe have her help me. Review today's economic thinking class. If not the bedroom, the study is fine too. But her refusal was so blunt that it made me suspect something was off. Mu Xiaowan, you're not hiding something scandalous in your room, are you? As soon as the words left my mouth, I noticed Mu Xinwan's face freeze. Seriously, a bunch of dangerous guesses immediately popped into my head. Could it be muscle magazines? Or rated videos? What girl her age could resist that kind of temptation? Mu Xinwan saw right through my thoughts. I nimbly dodged, just as she raised her finger. What are you thinking about? I replied righteously. Nothing perverted. But the next second, Mu Xinwan's eyelids twitched. It wasn't what I thought. It was something even scarier that I wouldn't dare imagine. She stood up, trying to sound as natural as possible. My room is just a bit messy. Let me tidy up first. Then you can come over. With that, she turned and left. It was like she was afraid I'd follow her. Her pace was ridiculously fast. I watched her back, feeling even more confused. Why the rush? Besides, the Mu family has so many servants. How could her room be messy? Just then, Xulan called out to me. Sheng, leave her be. Come have some BBQ. Meanwhile, in Mu Xinwan's room, a corner of the true secret was finally revealed. The standee of the young boy on the nightstand was quickly covered. On the wall, she took down the frames filled with photos of the boy in various poses. The shirts printed with the boy's refreshing face were also folded away. By the pillow, sitting quietly, were plush dolls of the boy in little suits, all of which were stuffed into the closet. Finally, Mu Xingwan opened the videos of the boy she often played on the projector and clicked hide. Not until the entire room showed no trace of me did she finally breathe a sigh of relief. Immediately after, she picked up some perfume and lightly sprayed it in the air. In her low murmur lay a long-awaited, secret excitement. The little prince himself is coming. But just cleaning up wasn't enough. How could she grab my attention? Mu Xingwan walked to the mirror. Sophie's words suddenly echoed in her mind. Before the dawn of civilization, without any external help, what kind of female would a male be attracted to? The next second, her fingers landed on her shirt collar and gently pulled it open. Downstairs, after 3 glasses of fruit wine, my vision was getting a bit blurry, but Mu Xingwan still hadn't come back. The more I thought about it, the more curious I got. I simply got up and headed into the villa to investigate. To my surprise, as soon as I stepped out of the elevator, I saw a scene that made my blood boil. The bathroom door pushed open. Mu Xingwan had just finished her shower. Her damp, long hair clung to her face. She was loosely draped in a silk bathrobe. A large amount of skin was exposed. This was the first time I'd seen her like this, completely unshielded. The impact was off the charts. I froze on the spot, staring blankly. After half a minute, I gulped hard. I turned tail and bolted back to my room. "Pervert!" I shouted as I ran. Mu Xingwan's brow twitched. She didn't understand my extreme reaction. She followed me upstairs. I slammed the door shut, panting heavily. My heart was pounding out of my chest. Mu Xingwan is way too bold. Not even dressing properly after a shower. Wait, that devilish figure looked strangely familiar, like the 2D goddess in the manga I used to hide in my backpack. Back then, the manga fell out and she picked it up. She even mocked my poor taste in front of everyone. She bragged that she'd definitely have a better body than a manga character when she grew up. I thought she was just bluffing. Who knew reality would replicate the top-tier visuals so perfectly? I suddenly remembered her figure. My cheeks instantly burned hot. I slapped my face to calm down. Yang Jian, get a grip. How could you have such ridiculous thoughts about your childhood friend? Ultimately, it's all Mu Xiaowan's fault for being so indecent. I'm only 19. How am I supposed to handle that kind of critical hit? Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. My heart tightened. Who is it? Yang Xiaojian, is that reaction really necessary? Haven't you ever seen a good body before? That teasing voice. It was definitely the culprit. In reality, I really hadn't seen one up close. In my last life, even though Hao Shuxing and I got married, it was just a marriage in name only. He was all about putting on a show. We didn't have any physical intimacy at all. I yelled through the door, Mu Xiaowan, can you have some boundaries? Walking around half naked after a shower. You have zero modesty. However, her tone was light and airy. She didn't care at all. I don't have a boyfriend. What rules do I need to follow? That logic was bulletproof. I couldn't even argue. Besides, we saw everything when we were kids. What's there to be shy about now? How is that the same? I retorted instinctively. Mu Xingwan's voice held a mischievous grin, like a predator watching its prey fall into a trap. How is it different? It's a huge difference. We were kids back then. Now, she's fully developed. Flustered and angry, I blurted out, if I came out of the shower and stood in front of you like that, I stopped mid-sentence. I quickly covered my mouth. Mu Xingwan's eyes darkened instantly. Her voice went raspy. What did you just say? I didn't say anything. Then when do you plan on doing it? Mu Xingwan, you're a total pervert. She chuckled softly. She honestly admitted to herself that her intentions weren't pure. My flustered and panicked look made her heart itch, just as she was about to tease me more. Footsteps came from downstairs. She quickly pulled her robe tight and tied the belt. She frowned. Mom, Dad, why didn't you say you were coming up? Helan's voice was teasing. Did we interrupt something good? Don't be so secretive with your own family. Mu Jianjun shook his head repeatedly. He looked disappointed. He was frustrated that she wasn't living up to her potential. Girl, you're relying on your looks to get attention now? That's such a low-level tactic. It's nothing compared to how I was in my youth. How disappointing. I pressed against the door, stifling a laugh. Serves her right for acting like a pervert. Now she's getting scolded. Just then, a message from her popped up on my phone. Once you're done laughing, come to my room. No way. Who knows if she'll be half naked again. I immediately spammed her with stickers. All of them were memes about punishing Mu Xiaowan. The next day at school, Sophie excitedly cornered Mu Xingwan. Was that seduction guide I gave you yesterday useful? Mu Xingwan gave a cold snort. She handed over her phone. The screen was full of the stickers we'd sent each other. Sophie scrolled for 10 minutes and still didn't reach the bottom. This is insane. You guys can chat this long just using memes? Even couples don't talk this much. Jianjin has so many different stickers. All kinds of creative punishments. Send me a few sets for my collection. As soon as she said that, the air pressure around Mu Xingwan plummeted. You have the nerve to bring that up? It was all your stupid ideas. He spent the whole night avoiding me because of you. Sophie clapped her hands instead. But that's a good thing. His emotions are fluctuating so much because of you. Someone who doesn't care wouldn't have such an intense reaction. This proves Jianjian definitely has feelings for you. Mu Xingwan fell into silent thought. The more she thought about it, the more she felt something was off. She said coldly, who gave you permission to call him Jianjian? I can't call him that. Sophie looked confused. Jianjian didn't even say anything. Why are you so bothered? You guys are just childhood friends. Don't be so possessive. As soon as the words left her mouth, Mu Xingwan started teaching her a lesson. Sophie ran for her life, wailing. Let's talk this out. I'm the strategist who's been giving you advice, killing the messenger before you even get the guy. Huh? all day long, from class until school ended. I gave her the cold shoulder. I didn't say a single word to Mu Xingwan. She was so restless, she couldn't sit still. She secretly admired her past self for being able to endure it for so many years. Now that she was used to me laughing and playing around her every day, being ignored for even a moment felt like claws scratching at her heart. She'd be satisfied even if I just scolded her. After nightfall, a light whistle drifted over from the opposite balcony. I pulled back the curtain. I saw Mu Xingwan leaning over the railing, looking at me. A seductive smile played on her lips. Mu Xiaowen really knows how to find the right angles to pose. Just as I was about to open the window, a paper airplane flew straight into the room. The way it was folded immediately triggered a bad memory. Without a second thought, I threw it straight into the trash. Mu Xiaowen, stop being so childish. I frowned, about to close the window. She whistled again. She gestured toward the garden below. Yang Xiaojian looked down. I found something good. I looked down. A moment later, a palm-sized calico kitten slowly crawled out. Where did this kitten come from? It's so cute. I pushed the door open and ran to the back garden. Mu Xingwan followed slowly behind. A triumphant smile was hidden in her eyes. We both knelt by the bushes. The kitten got scared and hid back in the moss. It refused to come out. I lowered my voice and mimicked a cat's meow. Meow. After a few tries, the kitten finally gave a timid response. I kept calling out more enthusiastically. Hearing this, Mu Xingwan's brow furrowed. Her expression was complicated. That voice was clear yet strangely alluring. If I kept meowing like that, not just the kitten, but she herself was going to lose it. Yang Xiaojian, where did you learn to make those sounds? It's standard cat language. Yin, what do you know? Look, it's willing to talk to me now, right? Mu Xingwan pulled 2 cat treats from her pocket and waved them. Is it as effective as these? My eyes lit up instantly. I snatched them and tore them open. The scent of tuna wafted out. The kitten immediately let down its guard. It ran out with tiny steps and started devouring the treat. It was eating so happily it even raised its little paw. I gently rubbed its soft ears with my fingertips. My eyes were full of smiles. I couldn't hide my joy. Seeing how gentle I was with the kitten, Mu Xingwan felt strangely jealous. What's so cute about it? Those black and orange patches are a mess. It looks like it's been beaten up. Your taste is terrible. This is a calico cat. They're the peak of beauty in the cat world. By the way, is it a stray? Her gaze drifted. She nodded vaguely. I just ran into it in the bushes. I've never seen it before. I immediately got an idea and raised an eyebrow at her. Mu Xiaowen, do you know the special meaning of stray cats? Cats have meanings? Finders keepers. I picked up the kitten and turned to run, but my wrist was suddenly grabbed by her. You're faster than me. I stared at her warily. Why are you stopping me? Her gaze fell on the kitten in my arms. A wicked smile curled her lips. I found it first. You just said it was ugly. It is ugly, but I just love taking things from you. You rascal. I raised my hand as if to hit her. The kitten got startled and started struggling. I hurriedly tightened my grip to steady the little guy. As I stood up, my foot slipped. I stumbled backward. I was about to roll down the steep slope of the garden. Watch out! A short warning rang out. A force suddenly pulled me back. I caught my breath and looked up. Mu Xingwan was right in front of me. Her collar was slightly open, her distinct collarbones, and the soft, proud curves were faintly visible. The scene from the bathroom last night flashed through my mind. My heart skipped a beat. At this moment, Mu Xingwan was also staring intently at my face. She was completely dazed. She even forgot to look away. I felt uncomfortable being stared at. Just as I was about to speak, she reached out and gently brushed away a stray hair. Her voice was low and elegant. Yang Xiaojian, you're so beautiful. I felt a secret joy. Well, obviously, I've been a top-tier visual since I was a kid. Before I could finish, I saw her gaze fall on the cherry blossom petals scattered by her hand. It turned out she wasn't complimenting me at all. She was talking about the flowers on the ground. Yang Xiaojian, what are you being so vain for? Mu Xingwan's eyes were full of mockery. She was clearly making fun of me. I got angry on the spot. I raised my hand to teach her a lesson, but my wrists were pinned to the grass by her fingers. The core strength from years of self-defense training was no joke. She held me down like a little sparrow. I didn't have a chance to struggle. Are you still throwing a tantrum? The joke faded from her brow. Her expression turned serious. I knew she was asking about the bathroom incident from yesterday. I instinctively looked away. Actually, I wasn't really angry. Giving her the cold shoulder all day was purely because I'd had a shameful dream last night. In the dream, she was the heroine of that manga I used to hide. We were in that ambiguous stage of just starting a relationship. I woke up in a cold sweat. I really couldn't face her normally. I muttered softly, I'm not angry. Honestly, seeing those proud curves for free, I was secretly happy. There was no need to be upset. Did you get a good look? I just said that casually, but Mu Xingwan's lips curled. She made a move to pull her collar even lower. Since you didn't see clearly, do you want a closer look? Mu Xiaowan, you pervert. Just kidding. No matter how much we fight in the future, you're not allowed to avoid me on purpose. I retorted defiantly. Why should I listen to you? Her gaze drifted to the little calico sitting nearby. She upped the stakes. Do you still want to raise this kitten? The little guy tilted its round head. Its tail flicked back and forth. It stared at us innocently. The cuteness overload completely crushed my defenses. Only one thought remained. For the kitten. I'll agree to anything. Fine. Even if I'm mad, I won't give you the silent treatment. Now can you give me the cat? No. Mu Xiaowen, are you playing me? We'll raise it together. I froze for 2 seconds while I processed that, since I'm staying at her house anyway. Raising it together didn't really matter. I immediately nodded. Goal achieved. Only then did she let go of my hands. She pulled me up from the flowers. Let's give the little guy a name. While I was racking my brain for a powerful, majestic name, she spoke first. Let's call it Child. Child? That's such a weird name. She looked at me quietly. Under the moonlight, her eyes were swirling with emotion, hiding the unspoken words. Our child. It's so small. It's just a little baby. I smiled and shook the kitten's paw. Little guy, from now on, I'm your daddy. Mu Xingwan leaned in. Just as she was about to naturally claim the role of mommy, I suddenly let out a curse. I uncontrollably threw myself into her arms. My solid chest slammed into her. Someone who could normally carry a water jug with one hand was knocked flat on the ground by me. We rolled onto the lawn again. Our skin was pressed tightly together. There wasn't a single gap between us. She was pinned underneath. The corners of her eyes flushed from the impact. She had just managed to say half of my name when I started trembling in fear. Holy crap. Mu Xiaowen, there's a snake by your foot. Get it away. It's grossing me out. I was so panicked, I didn't notice anything else. I just kept urging her to get rid of the snake. But the person under me didn't move at all. Instead, she tightened her arms and held me even closer. She whispered my name over and over. I felt confused. Mu Xiaowen. What's wrong? Did I hurt you when I crashed into you? Hearing my voice, she briefly snapped out of it. But she was immediately swallowed by her chaotic thoughts again. No. Nothing. I'm scared too. She wasn't afraid of the snake. She was afraid that being this close to me, her feelings, hidden for years, would completely spill out and scare me away. I turned my head. My warm breath brushed against her ear. A surge of high-voltage electricity shot through her entire body. Mu Xingwan stiffened. Her pupils dilated. She completely lost her composure. I also realized at the same time, an incredible heat was coming from where our bodies touched. The awkwardness and panic doubled instantly. I stiffened even more, afraid to move. My whole body was frozen. I whispered Mu Xiaowen. Do you think the snake crawled over next to us? No. Her voice was raspy, almost cracking. Her tone was terrifyingly heavy. I instinctively reached out to check. She suddenly pushed me away. She ran back to the villa without looking back, leaving me sitting alone on the grass. The night wind blew through my hair. It took me a while to react. I jumped up on the spot. Mu Xiaowen, you jerk. You're just gonna leave me and the kitten and run? My legs were weak as I pushed myself up. I was terrified of stepping on the snake. I turned around and my eyes nearly popped out. The little calico was actually squatting there, batting at a slug. My scalp tingled and I cursed. For a moment, I wanted to give up on raising it, but in the end, my soft heart won over the disgust. I scooped up the kitten and ran toward the house. Be a good boy, son. That bug is too ugly. We're not playing with it. A few servants were chatting in the backyard. The butler came forward to ask what happened. The madam said she saw a dark shadow at night. Only when she got closer did she realize it was Mu Xingwan, secretly taking away the stray kitten the madam had been feeding. The butler was confused. The young lady never liked small animals. Why would she steal a cat in the middle of the night? While they were talking, I walked over holding the calico. I smiled and waved at them. The group immediately saw through the truth. They looked at each other and smiled, so she specifically got the kitten to cheer me up. Talk about loving everything associated with the person. I walked to the sink. I was about to clean the kitten's paws. The butler quickly stepped in to help. Don't trouble yourself. A quick wipe is enough. Where's Mu Xiaowan? The young lady just went upstairs to shower. I was instantly fuming. She didn't run away because she was scared of bugs. She was in a rush to shower because she thought the garden dirt was gross. Or maybe she thought I was gross. This is too much. I wanted to go upstairs and settle the score. But then I remembered the bathroom scene from last night. I forced myself to suppress the thought. After wiping the cat's paws, I curled up on the sofa to wait for her. At first, playing with the cat was fun, but I ended up waiting for almost an hour. This woman takes way too long to shower. The butler was also secretly puzzled. The young lady usually showers for 30 minutes at most. Her behavior tonight was extremely unusual. Her face was flushed, yet she seemed to be in a bad mood. It was as if she were forcibly suppressing something. I let out a massive, exhausted yawn. I stretched my arms out wide. Just then, Mu Xingwan happened to walk out of the bathroom. Her eyes immediately landed on a glimpse of my bare skin. That one look was enough to send all sorts of uncontrollable thoughts racing through her mind. I saw her eyes light up instantly. I stood up and grumbled, "You're finally out. You heartless girl," leaving me and the kitten with the housekeeper. Before I could even process what was happening, she turned around and ducked back into the bathroom. "Why are you washing again?" The housekeeper stood to the side, seeing through everything. She silently kept her mouth shut. 19 is the age when first love truly blossoms, an age when the body is at its most sensitive. Having a guy like me living in her house was nothing short of a double blow of sweet torment for her. The next day at school, a hot topic was pinned to the top of the campus forum. It stayed there for 3 whole days. The headline, "Yang Jian and the eldest Mu daughter are deskmates." The comments section exploded. Who's the guy next to Mu Xingwan? Is this the first time a guy has sat there? The campus forums were already going wild with rumors. They said the heiress of the Mu group had pulled strings just to squeeze me into her popular major classes. Naturally, these rumors reached the ears of that pretentious poser. Back then, he had tried everything to stage a chance encounter with Mu Xingwan, but she hadn't even spared him a glance. Now, seeing this poor loser next to her, His eyes were red with pure envy. He immediately started digging a massive hole for me behind my back. The painting that the poser was using to enter the Peacock Cup suddenly vanished into thin air, and as luck would have it, in the hallway surveillance, I was the only person who appeared on camera the entire time. Now his eyes were filled with the thrill of revenge. He was certain he had caught me by the throat. I had just finished playing ball at the gym. Suddenly, my phone started blowing up with notifications. The class monitor was sending out urgent alerts, urging me to get to the 11th floor art studio immediately. I pushed the door open and looked inside. What a perfect setup for an ambush. The disciplinary committee and the class officers were all there. The poser sat right in the middle. His face was written with the smugness of someone catching a thief red-handed. You're finally here. I thought you were too guilty to show your face. The poser taunted me with a sarcastic sneer. A dozen gossiping eyes were pinned firmly on me. What's that supposed to mean? I didn't even flinch. I wasn't in the mood to waste words on him. My calm demeanor only seemed to infuriate him further. The witnesses and evidence are all here. Stop acting, Yang Jian. On what grounds? Did you steal my painting? Steal your painting. I furrowed my brows. The whole thing was just absurd. Right then, the door was pushed open again. A tall, cold figure walked into the room. It was the school beauty, Hao Shuesheng. Everyone stood up at once. The poser's eyes lit up. Shuesheng, you're here. With the school beauty backing him up, his confidence surged. Play the surveillance footage, he shouted. When I entered the room, my bag was flat, but when I left, it was bulging. Everyone saw it, right? The poser crossed his arms smugly, refusing to let go. This is ironclad proof. He had it all calculated. Not only did he want to brand me a thief and get me disciplined, but he also wanted to force me to beg for mercy in front of Hao Shuesheng. He wanted to take the humiliation of having his bag thrown away by Mu Xingwan and pay it back to me tenfold. The people around us started whispering and pointing. They were all convinced that I was the culprit. I let out a cold laugh. I'm not that bored. Why would I even want your painting? Why? The poser jumped up. He pointed right at my nose and screamed, because you're obsessed with Shusheng. You're jealous that I'm the one close to her. At that critical moment, a cold voice cut through his barking. Enough. Hao Shuesheng stood there with her usual icy expression. Her tone was detached. I will pay for the loss of this painting in full. The entire room gasped. The ice goddess was known for being strictly professional, and yet, today she was publicly covering for me. People looked at each other in confusion. They began to suspect that she didn't actually hate me that much. However, I almost burst out laughing right then and there. The poser was the mad dog, biting and throwing dirt, while Hao Shuesheng pretended to protect me. But in reality, with that one sentence, she had completely confirmed my guilt as a thief. These two were playing a perfect game of tag team. It was exactly the same routine they used to screw me over in my past life. Her fake, green tea act of mercy made me want to vomit. I slowly turned around. I stared at Hao Shuesheng with a fake smile. You'll pay. With what? Are you going to use the money I donated to your mother to cover it? Let's see how many paintings that's worth. The moment the words left my mouth, Hao Shuesheng's beautiful face turned deathly pale. Yang Jian, do you have to be so condescending? This was the first time Hao Shuesheng had ever lost her cool with me. The coldness in her eyes vanished, replaced by an uncontrollable rage. But the people around us immediately started defending her. The goddess is clearly trying to help him, and he humiliates her in public. How ungrateful. He spent years licking her boots, but now that she's lowering herself, he's acting all high and mighty. His family is poor to begin with, using a donation to poke at her sore spot. What a lowlife. I heard his family literally collects trash for a living. What does this poor kid have to be so arrogant about? Arrogant? I curled my lips, finding it hilarious. I've always been this way. You're just finding out today. This little bit of embarrassment, compared to the way she and that poser teamed up to tear me apart in my past life, isn't even an appetizer. Back then, I was a shameless simp. She'd throw me a bone every now and then just to keep me on a leash. In the end, it was all just a damn pig butchering scam. Meanwhile, I caught the poser out of the corner of my eye. The signs were all there from the start. I was just blind back then. I couldn't see through the trap these two had set. The poser was staring at me in disbelief. He probably thought I'd lost my mind after being caught red-handed, and was just lashing out at everyone. But just as he was about to throw more dirt, the studio door swung open. The counselor walked in, and the class monitor immediately spoke up. Teacher, Yang Jian stole a painting. The counselor raised a hand to cut him off. I have a general idea of what happened. How is the investigation going? Is it possible this is a misunderstanding? The class monitor shook his head. He's refused to explain himself the entire time. The poser immediately added a sarcastic jab. It's not that he won't explain. The evidence is so clear that his silence is a confession. The counselor watched the surveillance footage again. Then he walked over to my side. Yang Jian, I know that innocent people often don't feel the need to defend themselves, but right now, we're at a standstill. Tell me why you were in the studio and what happened. Only then can I help clear your name. I looked around the room. The poser who deliberately framed me, Hao Shuesheng, who sat by with her fake mercy while my guilt was cemented, the hostile disciplinary committee, the clueless bystanders and the suspicious male students, Anne and Shu Yang and Su Fei, who were tucked away in the corner. In everyone's mind, I had already been labeled a thief. Anything I said would just be a waste of breath. The poser had played his cards well. He called in everyone he could, determined to pin this crime on me once and for all. But just then, there was a commotion in the hallway. Su Fei was passing by with her tennis racket. Through the glass window, she saw the crowd packed into the art studio. She stopped in her tracks. Little Jian is in the middle of that. Are they holding an audition with all those people? Too bad one isn't here. But after looking for a few more seconds, she immediately sensed the atmosphere was off. And Shuang, something's wrong in there. That crowd. Looks like they're ganging up on little Jian. And Shuang looked up to confirm, her expression darkening. They're either doubting him or making things difficult. A second later, the two of them pushed the door open and walked in. The sudden arrival of two top-tier heiresses caused an immediate stir. The excitement in the eyes of many guys was impossible to hide. The poser was secretly thrilled. What a godsend. If he could just expose my crimes to them, they'd go straight to Mu Xingwan. Then my disguise would be completely ripped away. Su Fei walked straight over and stood by my side. What's going on here? And Shui Ying took one look at the projection screen and instantly pieced the situation together. The poser couldn't wait to jump out. Yang Jian stole my competition painting, and Shui Ying cut him off mid-sentence. She turned her gaze to me. Did you take the painting? I gave a slight nod. She then turned her attention back to the surveillance screen. This recording is incomplete. The class monitor looks certain. I personally copied this video from the security room. Not a single second is missing, and Shu Ying's tone remained calm. I'm referring to the missing nighttime segments, the counselor explained. The cameras don't have infrared. It's pitch black at night. Checking them wouldn't have helped. And Shu Ying countered, then how can you guarantee no one entered at night? The entire room went silent. The poser's heart skipped a beat. He had intended to use these two to get word to Mu Xingwan. He never expected that they wouldn't even ask for details, and would immediately take my side. What kind of spell did Yang Jian cast on them? The poser immediately raised his voice. That's impossible. The studio locks automatically at 6 p.m. Picking the lock or breaking a window would leave marks. The place was spotless, and Shu Ying's eyes turned cold. She stared him down. I didn't say someone broke in at night, but this student is so insistent that the painting was stolen. It's as if he already knew the inside story. Su Fei looked at her freshly done nails. She chimed in, maybe it's a case of the thief crying thief, hiding the painting himself just to frame someone else. The poser panicked, waving his hands. No way. Absolutely not. Why would I steal my own painting? Yang Jian is the only one who had the chance. The counselor frowned and stopped him. Nothing is settled yet. Don't go labeling people so easily. The poser gritted his teeth. He was fuming with indignation. The surveillance was right there. There was no one else but me. Even if Shu Ying tried to argue for me, she couldn't change the facts. However, a moment later, and Shu Ying spoke up calmly. Who is the daily manager of this studio? The counselor answered her. Director Liu, the head of the competition committee, is in charge lately, and Shu Ying was decisive. She immediately told the teacher to call him. Get Director Liu here for a confrontation. The guys nearby were staring blankly. The dual-degree genius girl's logic was crushing. Her aura completely dominated the room. Su Fei leaned in, hooking her arm through Shu Ying's. She gave a carefree smirk. This was a total power move. The poser was practically fuming on the side. The room full of fence-sitters shifted their stance instantly, but he still kept his mouth shut. Stubborn as ever. He was certain that once the director arrived, I would be the one who was finished. While waiting for the confrontation, my head was full of questions. Su Fei gave me a reassuring wink, showing off that when Shu Ying makes a move, it's always a guaranteed win. Actually, what I was struggling with wasn't clearing my name. It was why these two heiresses would blindly take my side after I only said one word. No, I used to spend every day as Mu Xingwan's simp. My social life was practically zero. They were just new friends Mu Xingwan made in college. I'd only known them for a few days. We weren't even that close. On the other hand, look at this room. My male roommates and teachers who I see every day all stayed silent and didn't say a damn word. But then, a thought occurred to me. It all made sense. Birds of a feather flock together. Mu Xingwan would always back me up unconditionally. Naturally, her best friends would be no different. A short while later, Director Liu arrived in a hurry. Seeing the room full of people, he immediately took the initiative to clear up the misunderstanding. It turned out the exhibition had a last-minute change. He had taken the poser's painting late at night, but he had been so busy he was running in circles, and completely forgot to notify everyone. The truth was out. The poser's face went pale. He stumbled back a couple of steps. His carefully planned frame-up had completely fallen apart. The room erupted in whispers. Everyone's gaze toward me was now filled with guilt. So the director took it. That guy was way out of line, calling him a thief for no reason. Anyone would feel terrible being surrounded by a bunch of guys like that. All that suspicion must have been hard to take. No wonder he was so cold to the class president. Zhao Gu and the others shuffled forward, wanting to say something, but remembering how they just stood by and watched, they froze in their tracks. Trying to comfort me now was far too late. The counselor was about to dismiss everyone, but Su Fei spoke up and stopped them. She walked right up to the poser. You dragged all these people here to smear his name. Now that the truth is out, you think you can just slip away without an apology? The class monitor chimed in as well, ordering the poser to apologize to me in front of everyone. The poser kept his head down, not daring to show his face. He was consumed by a mix of shame and rage. He had wanted to destroy my reputation, but instead, he had become the laughingstock of the room. He just wanted to vanish into thin air. Just then, Hao Xuxing's eyes landed on me. Her gaze was swirling with emotion. I was about to speak up to ease the tension, but instead, I let out a cold sneer. No need for an apology. I don't accept it. Su Fei shrugged in agreement. A forced apology like that doesn't mean a thing. Then I turned to thank Shuiying and Su Fei. Why are you being so formal with us? It's stuffy in here with all these people. Let's go out and get some fresh air. I turned and walked out of the studio. Hao Chuixing's eyes followed my back the entire way. Just moments ago, I was being doubted and branded a thief by everyone, and even when my name was cleared, my expression remained indifferent from start to finish. It was as if everyone around me meant nothing at all. She and I were now completely separated into two different worlds. Outside the teaching building, it was pouring rain. A large group of students was huddled at the entrance, seeking shelter. Su Fei sighed, holding her tennis racket. Her plans to play were completely ruined, and Shuiying estimated the rain would let up in half an hour. We stood under the awning for 2 minutes. The group from the art studio began to filter out. Everyone was complaining about the sudden downpour. Without an umbrella, they were stuck. Hao Xuexing stared at me from under the awning. My white sneakers were getting soaked and covered in mud. A moment later, she opened her shoulder bag. She pulled out an umbrella and walked straight toward me. But right at that moment, the poser saw it happen. His pupils dilated instantly. After the shock, a wave of overwhelming rage washed over him. I had already made him lose face in front of the teachers and students today. He absolutely could not lose to me when it came to Hao Xuexing. So, the green tea guy intentionally stepped into a puddle. He let out an exaggerated gasp of pain. He hopped on one foot, looking at Hao Xuexing. He put on a perfect act of vulnerability. Xuexing, the rain is so heavy. These shoes were handmade by my mother. They'll be ruined if they get wet. Hao Xuexing indeed stopped in her tracks. The bystanders were all secretly comparing the two of us. On one side was me, the guy who had been her simp for years. On the other was her childhood friend, the poser. Everyone was curious to see who this manipulative girl would choose. A few seconds later, she actually handed the umbrella to the poser. The crowd had a just as I thought look on their faces. The looks they gave me were full of pity and mockery. In their eyes, I was just a one-sided ATM. No matter how handsome I was or how much money I spent, if she didn't love me, she didn't love me. The poser took the umbrella, his smugness nearly overflowing. He gave me a blatant, provocative look. His eyes seemed to say that no matter how much I tried, Hao Xuexing would always choose him. Su Fei's short temper flared up, and she started cursing, stringing two guys along. What a total bitch. My fists are starting to itch just looking at her. I really don't get what little Jian saw in her before. The scene made me feel sick to my stomach. I wasn't in the mood to waste time with those two. I was about to put my bag over my head and dash into the rain. But suddenly, my wrist was gripped tightly by Hao Xuexing. Yang Jian, wait for me here. However, before she could finish, she was cut off by the roar of a powerful engine. Through the thick mist of the rain, a black Koenigsegg supercar tore through the puddles. It pulled up arrogantly right at the school gate. A driver opened a black umbrella and respectfully opened the back door. A moment later, a pair of pointed stilettos stepped onto the ground. It was Mu Xingwan. The entire crowd gasped. The woman was even more eye-catching than the car. Her formal attire had replaced her usual laid-back look, leaving only the sharp elegance of a powerful heiress. The guys there were completely mesmerized. Even the girls were squealing with excitement. I was completely dazed myself. I usually saw her in casual, trendy outfit, but in this big sister look, her features were stunningly cold and beautiful. My heart skipped a beat for some reason. Just then, Su Fei let out a wolf whistle. Wan just ended the game with that entrance. Your little move earlier wasn't even close. And Shuiying teased. And Shuiying raised an eyebrow. Then Su Fei showed off the chat logs on her phone. It turned out that when she saw Hao Xuexing earlier, she immediately sent their location to Mu Xingwan, and Shuiying shook her head with a light sigh. She was supposed to be at an important charity banquet, to discuss a major project, but for your sake, that she dropped the business and rushed here. It was clear how much she cared. The rain continued to pour. The world was a hazy shade of gray. Then, Mu Xingwan held up a black umbrella and walked slowly toward me. The surrounding crowd, the building, the cars. Everything seemed to blur into the background. She was the only one left in my sight. It wasn't until a firm hand yanked me away from Hao Xuexing that I snapped out of it. Why did you come all of a sudden? The umbrella was held steadily over my head. Not a single drop of rain touched me. Mu Xingwan's voice was certain. I came specifically to pick you up. The crowd instantly erupted. The whispers were everywhere. The eldest Mu daughter came specifically to pick up Yang Jian. Are the rumors on the forum actually true? Their relationship is definitely not normal. The Mu family is at the top of the food chain. Logically speaking, it's impossible for her to be this close to an ordinary guy. I looked up at her. A smile tugged at the corners of my mouth. How did you even know I was here? The moment I saw her, all the frustration from being framed and cornered vanished in an instant. Even though it was gloomy and raining outside, my mood suddenly brightened. Mu Xingwan arched an eyebrow. Her eyes were swirling with an emotion she couldn't hide. Yang Jian, how can you be so dense? I was completely confused. Huh? The next second, she dropped a bombshell. I've been chasing you for so long. You haven't noticed at all? That one sentence left everyone at the school gate stunned. Their jaws practically hit the floor. Only Hao Shusheng's face turned instantly dark. No one expected it. The elite heiress who held all the power had actually been the one pursuing me. Mu Xingwan's gaze returned to me. Her tone even carried a hint of self-deprecation. Or are you just playing dumb to avoid me on purpose? I was completely floored. I couldn't keep up with this lady's rhythm at all. Before I could speak, she took another half step forward. Her tall figure completely blocked out everyone else's gaze. Her long hair brushed against my neck. Her voice became soft and gentle. It carried a hint of vulnerable pleading. Just have some pity on me for once. Don't be so heartless and push me away today, okay? The hearts of every guy there shattered instantly. Only the poser's face was a sickly shade of gray. The Mu heiress, who was usually so high and mighty, and never showed interest in men, was actually acting so submissive and cute right now. She was taking the initiative to lower herself. Everyone looked at me and then at Hao Shusheng, with only one thought in their minds. With a top-tier pursuer like this, there was absolutely no reason to go back to his ex. However, while she was acting all sweet and vulnerable, the look she shot at Hao Shusheng out of the corner of her eye was as sharp and deadly as a poisoned blade. Her silent declaration of war was the polar opposite of her soft voice. Her warm breath brushed against my neck. My body stiffened for a moment. Then, it finally clicked. Mu Xingwan was doing this in front of everyone, to get back at them for framing and cornering me earlier. A smile touched my heart. I played along, tilting my chin up arrogantly. Well, I guess your sincerity is good enough. I guess I can agree to this, just this once. Hao Shusheng, who had looked calm and confident just a moment ago, felt his heart drop when he heard those words. His pupils shrunk in shock. It's my absolute honor. Mu Xingwan took the opportunity to grab my hand. A look of genuine joy spread across her face. I feel like I've finally won a long, grueling battle. Hao Shusheng stood frozen to the spot. This was the first time I had ever chosen someone else over him without a second thought. As the two figures walked away into the pouring rain, Mu Xingwan kept the umbrella tilted toward me the entire time. Gasps of amazement erupted at the school gate. The pitying and mocking stares from before instantly turned into looks of pure envy. Yang Jian's luck is insane. The eldest Miss Mu really only has eyes for him. Everyone was laughing at him for wasting his time on Hao Shusheng, but now it looks like he traded a pebble for a priceless diamond. Sophie watched the scene with delight and clapped enthusiastically. Sister Wan's combo move was a total knockout. A luxury car and a confession in the rain. Compared to Hao Shusheng's indecisiveness, her pure love persona is officially established. Meanwhile, Hao Shusheng remained rooted to the spot. His eyes locked onto the direction the sports car had gone. The gloom in his gaze was even darker than the storm clouds. That show-off, A Juan-B, stood there clutching his umbrella. Watching the supercar disappear, his face twisted with pure jealousy. The power and favoritism he had always craved but could never reach had been handed to me, so effortlessly. Resentment began to grow wildly in Ai Juangbi's heart, becoming almost impossible to suppress. As the crowd slowly dispersed, he turned to call out to Hao Shusheng, but Hao Shusheng didn't say a word. He walked alone into the heavy rain, letting the icy water soak him to the bone. Inside the car, the rear door clicked shut. Mu Xingwan pulled a high-end gift box from the back. Inside was a pair of men's sneakers, size 43. I looked at her confused. Are these for me? Why do you just happen to have shoes in my size in your car? She looked down to adjust the laces, dropping a line that set my heart racing. Everything I have was always meant to be yours. I couldn't stop the corners of my mouth from turning up. This woman is really laying on the sweet talk today. Give them to me. I can put them on myself. I reached out to take them, but she leaned over and grabbed my ankle. Don't move. Let me do it. The spacious back seat suddenly felt very cramped. My heart hammered against my ribs. She was actually going to put my shoes on for me. The moment her fingertips brushed the sole of my foot, an uncontrollable shiver ran through my entire body. She looked up, confused. She started gently rubbing my foot with her palm to warm it up. That rub sent a jolt of numbness through me. I instinctively tried to pull my foot back. Don't rub it. Stop. My panicked cry made Mu Xingwan pause. A playful, knowing look flickered in her eyes. Are you ticklish? I gritted my teeth, too embarrassed to tell her the truth. The soles of my feet are incredibly sensitive. It's just a bit cold. Just turn up the AC. But after knowing me for 19 years, she saw right through my clumsy excuse. If even your feet are this sensitive, then other places must be. Her thoughts clearly drifted. Her breathing grew a bit heavy, and the grip she had on my foot unconsciously tightened. I should rub it a bit more. It'll warm up faster. She reached out to continue. In a moment of desperation, I hurriedly grabbed her wrist and tried to sound tough as I warned her. Don't touch me. If you keep rubbing, I'm not changing my shoes. Fine. Mu Xingwan let go. Then she let out a low, soft chuckle that carried a hidden meaning, sending it straight my way. My ears instantly turned bright red. It sounded like she was teasing me on purpose. I furrowed my brows and glared at her, only to find a look of absolute sincerity in her eyes. The way she put on my shoes was almost incredibly solemn. Honestly, when this woman is being attentive, she really knows how to pull at your heartstrings. Since we were kids, she's always looked after me, feeding me treats, and keeping my things ready at all times. I'm a grown man now. I can take care of myself. But in her eyes, I'm still that kid who needs to be looked after in every way. She even insists on putting my shoes on for me. Suddenly, memories of my miserable past life flooded back. I had given my heart and soul to Hao Shusheng, yet he wouldn't even share half an umbrella with me. But Mu Xingwan, right here beside me, even though we're both adults now, she's still willing to bend down and put on my shoes. Her devotion over the last decade hasn't faded one bit. I used to be so blinded by my obsession that I carelessly threw away all her affection. Right now, guilt and bitterness are choking me up. My eyes are starting to sting. Mu Xiaowan, thanks for coming out today to back me up. Mu Xingwan looked up quickly, instantly sensing that something was wrong with my mood. What happened? I froze for a second. Didn't Sophie tell you? Well, yes. I thought you came specifically to get me out of that mess. She only messaged me saying you were at school, and that you were with Hao Xuexing, so she only got a location. She had no idea what was actually going on. I used to keep my grievances to myself, but with her, I suddenly felt the urge to tell her everything. I know she'll always believe me, no matter what. Yesterday, I was passing the art studio and heard a meow. A stray tuxedo kitten was stuck on the 11th floor windowsill. It was really dangerous. It took me forever to coax it down with some snacks. I put it in my bag and took it to the backyard to settle it in. Does that sound like I'm making it up? Mu Xingwan let out a soft laugh. Only you would go to such lengths for a stray cat. It fits you perfectly. Just be careful next time. Wild cats can scratch. As expected, she didn't doubt me for a second. If it were those people from the studio, they would have just insisted I was lying through my teeth. That's exactly why I didn't even want to bother explaining myself earlier. It just so happened that A. Zhuangbi's competition entry went missing that day. He was dead set on the idea that I stole it. He called in a whole room full of teachers and students. They were interrogating me? For what? Mu Xingwan's expression turned ice cold. She immediately turned and ordered the driver to head back to school. I quickly grabbed her arm to stop her. No need to go back. And Shuang and Sophie already helped me clear things up. Director Liu cleared up the misunderstanding about the entry. Everything's been settled. Besides, since you came to pick me up in front of everyone, Hao Xusheng and I Zhuangbi looked humiliated. The people watching won't dare to gossip behind my back anymore. I feel great. There's really no point in going back to argue. Are you sure you're not still upset? She stared intensely into my eyes. If she saw even a hint of pain, she would have forced the car to turn around. I'm positive. I quickly held up 2 fingers to swear it. Then, curiosity got the better of me. Since you didn't know what was happening, how did you make that speech at the gate sound so convincing? Mu Xingwan lowered her gaze, her emotions unreadable. You think I was just acting? What else? You couldn't actually be chasing me, right? We've known each other for years. If you wanted to, you would have done it ages ago. Your acting skills are good enough for an Oscar. I got more excited as I kept talking, completely opening up. And Shuying is so sharp. She notices details that everyone else misses. I heard her IQ is over 140 and that she's a genius. Today, I saw it for myself. And Sophie. She usually acts so carefree, but she was the first one to stand in front of me. I felt so safe. I was full of praise, completely failing to notice that Mu Xingwan's face had gone dark. You seem to think very highly of them. She spoke slowly, unable to hide the jealousy in her voice. Of course, after today my respect for them is through the roof. Is that so? Mu Xingwan finished tying the laces and stood up slowly, brushing the raindrops off her professional skirt. You've only seen the surface. You have no idea what they're really like in private. What do you mean? I asked. My curiosity piqued. And Shu Wang is a medical student. She even has a private lab at home, specifically for dissecting small animals. Hamsters, rabbits, kittens, you name it. Before I could even feel nauseous, she started describing the process in detail. She picks up a rabbit by its ears, shaves its fur, and then injects chemicals into its veins, stomach, and eyes. She records every single detail. Stop. I can't take it. My face went pale, and I hurriedly told her to shut up. A smug look of satisfaction flashed in Mu Xingwan's eyes. That's just her daily routine. Last time I sent her a photo of a calico cat giving birth, she asked me to bring it to her lab for observation. No way. That's twisted. My eyes widened in disgust. A genius's quirks are enough to make your skin crawl. I definitely need to keep my distance from her. And then there's Sophie. She looks cool and likable, right? When an underclassman confessed to her, guess how she rejected him? What did she say? Mu Xingwan's gaze swept over my chest and stomach. She repeated it nonchalantly. Sorry, you don't have an 8-pack. You don't meet my standards. I immediately concluded, what a turnoff. I was full of admiration for those two just a second ago, and now their dark sides have been ruthlessly exposed. Mu Xingwan couldn't hide her smile. So, don't be fooled by appearances. No one will ever cater to you the way I do. Hearing her praise herself like that, I suddenly realized something was off. It's one thing to talk behind your friends' backs, but you're not much better. Who was it that ran away faster than a rabbit, leaving me and the kitten behind? When we ran into that toad and snake in the backyard. At the mention of the past, Mu Xingwan's expression stiffened. That was an accident. Don't make excuses. You're officially a fake friend. If you ever dare to leave me behind again, I'll go to the school radio station and announce that I dumped you. I'll make sure you lose all your dignity. Since the whole school thinks you're chasing me anyway, this will definitely work. Dump me. Her eyes narrowed, and a sense of danger filled the air. The next second, she leaned in close. It won't be that easy. If you push me, I'll just lock you up and keep you all to myself. My heart skipped a beat. She said it so bluntly that it didn't sound like a joke at all. Birds of a feather really do flock together. And Shuying and Sophie are weird, but she's a combination of both their worst traits. She's both a closet pervert and obsessive. Just as I was about to argue back, her sharp, feminine scent filled my nose. Her stunning face was inches away from mine. I frantically turned my head to look out the window. Are you scared? She let out a soft laugh. No. It's just because you're looking illegally beautiful today. The words slipped out before I could stop them. I quickly covered my mouth with my hand. Crap. I just said my inner thoughts out loud. Mu Xingwan was stunned for a moment. Then a wide smile spread across her face. She continued to press forward, trapping me between the car window and her soft body. What did you just say? Say it again. I didn't say anything. With half my face pressed against the cold glass, I had nowhere to hide. She braced one hand against the seat back, pinning me in. Come on, tell the truth. Or do I have to use my secret weapon? Her secret weapon. It's definitely tickling. I'm so ticklish. If she starts, I'll be completely at her mercy. I had no choice but to give in. I said, you look pretty today. How pretty? She stared at my flushed cheeks with a smile, her gaze intense. I thought fast and pointed at the storm outside. So pretty that even the sky is crying for you. Yang Jian, you really know how to talk. Her eyes grew hazy as she suddenly lowered her head. Her nose brushed against mine. We were as close as two people could be. What about you? Her exquisite face filled my vision. Her deep pupils looked like they wanted to swallow me whole. Our hot breaths mingled together, and her voice was soft and seductive. My heart stopped. My mind went completely blank. 2 seconds later, I suddenly reached out and pushed her face away. Who would fall for you? You're even more ridiculous than Shuang and Sophie. Being pushed away so heartlessly. Mu Xingwan snapped out of it. She shook her head slightly to steady herself. She had almost kissed me just now. Whenever she's alone with me in a confined space, her self-control just goes out the window. She let out a low, soft laugh. Compared to the other two, her feelings were definitely more obsessive. She didn't just want me to fall for her. She had so many other thoughts she couldn't even hide. I quickly pulled my hand back and took a deep breath. Outside, the wind and rain were raging. The tree branches were swaying wildly in the storm, just like my chaotic heartbeat. Right now, it was just a bit of teasing. There's no need to panic like this. Afraid she'd keep at it, I quickly changed the subject. What do you usually like? Mu Xingwan looked up, the heat in her eyes not yet faded. She stared at me. This little troublemaker. A single word from me could throw her entire mind into chaos. I want to give you a thank you gift. Thanks for helping me get into Professor Feng's elective course. At the mention of a gift, her breathing finally calmed down. Then she reached out and snatched the black sports wristband off my wrist. I want this. I was totally confused. It's just a plain wristband. What are you going to do with it? Use it to ward off unwanted attention. I got it immediately. It's a trend online for couples to wear each other's things, claiming ownership. He's clearly just using me as a shield. But this doesn't even count as a proper gift. I quietly plotted to myself. I have to prepare a decent return gift for him separately. Then I noticed the route outside the window wasn't right. Where are we going? This isn't the way back to the villa at all. Jindu Commercial Building Yuming Charity Gala. The black supercar pulled up smoothly in front of the building's revolving doors. Before I could even react, Assistant Yu rushed forward. Looking anxious, he cried out, "My little ancestor, you're finally back. A project as massive as the Jingzhou Cross River Bridge. How could you just walk out in the middle of it? The gala is almost over. President Yan, President Jin, and all the big shots. They're all waiting to speak with you in person. I really can't handle them on my own anymore. The capital's longest cross-river steel truss bridge project. It's been all over the news every single day lately." I froze on the spot. I never would have imagined, faced with such a high-stakes deal, that she would actually leave in the middle of it, just to come to school and pick me up. Yet, Mu Xingwan remained perfectly calm. She walked around to the other side and personally opened the car door for me. Isn't Lu Ruyan handling the socializing? President Lu isn't clear on many of the bidding details. Several CEOs insisted on coordinating with you directly. Hearing this, I hurriedly urged her to go inside and take care of business. But Mu Xingwan completely ignored the assistant's wailing. Her eyes were fixed only on me as she said, "No rush. I'll take you inside for a look first." The assistant stood by, jaw dropped. Then, she led me straight into the banquet hall. She carefully settled me in a seat with some desserts. The drinks here are all strong liquor, so don't touch them. Have some cake first to tide you over. After making sure I was perfectly comfortable, only then did she turn to join the social gathering. I took a bite of the Basque cheesecake and quietly looked around. Everyone passing by stole a second glance at me. They were all wondering, who was this boy that Mu Xingwan had left in the middle of a meeting to pick up? Just who was he? To avoid any conversation, I quickly looked away. My gaze landed directly on Mu Xingwan, who was chatting effortlessly at the head table. The people surrounding her were all regulars in the financial news. They were the elite of the business world. Yet, even these powerful figures couldn't seem to match her aura. When talking business, she completely shed her usual playful demeanor. She was calm, controlled, and wrapped in an air of cold detachment that kept people at a distance. That coldness felt strangely unfamiliar to me. For a moment, a memory of an awards ceremony from my past life flashed through my mind. Back then, she stood at the top, the center of attention. While I was broken and miserable, there was already an unbridgeable gap between us. Just as those painful memories were about to swallow me whole, a familiar laugh snapped me back to reality. The business talk was over. Mu Xingwan turned to look at me, and the tension in her face instantly melted into a warm smile. That smile felt like a reassurance, pulling me out of my dark past and back into the present. Everything has started over. We haven't broken up. We haven't grown apart. We're still the closest of childhood friends. It's good. I chewed on my cake as I watched her walk toward me. She looked elegant and radiant. Every step she took made my heart race. It was that same fluttering feeling I had in the car. But as soon as she spoke, the romantic atmosphere shattered instantly. "Yang Jian, is that cake so bad it's making your face scrunch up?" I froze. So even while she was talking business, she had been keeping an eye on me the whole time. It's just okay. Not as good as the desserts you give me. Mu Xingwan raised an eyebrow, her tone full of playfulness. God, why are you being so sweet? Every word you say is like a hook. When do I ever say things that aren't sweet? I wouldn't know, since I haven't tasted them myself. I was instantly speechless. This woman, she can drop a lethal, flirtatious joke without even blinking. No matter how good the atmosphere is, she can't keep the act up for more than 3 seconds. She's just playing around with the business. I'm moving fast because I don't want my little young master waiting too long. Even though I'm acting all tsundere and grumbling on the outside, the corners of my mouth are twitching upward, completely out of my control. Even this mediocre cake suddenly tastes incredibly sweet. Mu Xingwan, you took over the family project so early. I originally thought. I stopped mid-sentence. I shut my mouth just in time. I almost let slip a thought from my past life. You thought what? I thought you'd wait until after graduation to step into the business world. Mu Xingwan lets out a cold snort. Her voice is immediately thick with grievance and accusation. Isn't it because a certain someone has been deliberately avoiding me these past few years? You didn't have a clue what I was busy with every day. Do you have any idea how empty my heart felt? How long I had to endure it? Fine. Stop being so dramatic. I'll make it up to you, okay? I quickly reach out and tug on the sleeve of her professional suit. I give it a gentle shake. She looks down at my hand gripping the fabric, her gaze instantly deepening. You'll really make it up to me. I never break my word. Then you'll have to compensate me double. Suddenly, she leans in close. A burning light flickers in the depths of her eyes. These past few years, it wasn't just my heart that felt empty. My body is craving it too. I'm completely bewildered. Making it up to her mentally is one thing, but how on earth am I supposed to compensate her body? Just then, a clear male voice suddenly shatters the silence of the banquet hall. Miss Mu. The doors are thrown open. A young man in a red suit strides inside. The moment he sees Mu Xingwan, a fanatical light ignites in his eyes. He straightens his blazer and rushes straight toward us. I raise an eyebrow at Mu Xingwan. I silently ask if she actually knows this guy. However, she gives a slight shake of her head. Her face is a complete blank. She has no memory of him at all. My uncle didn't lie to me. You really are here. And Xian stands there, trembling with excitement. He nervously runs a hand through his slightly curly hair. He lowers his head, acting shy. Mu Xingwan looks completely lost. Have we met? And Xian freezes instantly. His eyes are filled with hurt and disbelief. The group photo at the birthday banquet. The ribbon cutting for the Xiangshan group. I even personally poured tea for you. We've clearly crossed paths at so many events. He frantically lists off every tiny interaction from the past. His gaze is obsessive and blunt. I can tell at a glance. This is definitely a hardcore fanboy coming to her door. Seeing that Mu Xingwan still doesn't remember him, and Xian forces a smile and extends his right hand. It's okay if you don't remember. Let's start over. I'm in Xian from the Wume group. I've heard of the Wume group before. Just as I'm enjoying the drama, Mu Xingwan suddenly raises her hand. In the next second, she completely bypasses in Xian and grabs my hand in a tight grip. I'm full of questions. Just as I'm about to speak, she shoots me a quick look, signaling me. It's time to fulfill my ultimate duty as her shield. Hello, I'm Mu Xingwan. Then, she holds up our interlaced hands. Her smile is bold and open. She's marking her territory in front of everyone. And by the way, this is my boyfriend, Yang Jian. It clicks instantly. This morning, she took my wristband saying she needed to ward off unwanted attention. And now she's gone and made it official in public. Talk about taking initiative. Hearing the word boyfriend, and Xian looks like he's been struck by lightning. He stares intently at her wrist, at that black wristband that belongs to me. Then he looks me up and down, taking in my handsome features. For a long time, he can't even manage a full sentence. But after a brief moment of panic, he actually manages to calm himself down. The Mu family heiress has top-tier looks and status. It's not surprising she has a few playmates. In his eyes, I'm probably just an ordinary guy with nothing but a pretty face. Once the novelty wears off, I'll be heartlessly replaced. There's no way I can be compared to a wealthy young master like him. So, he hides his hostility. He asks a pointed question. Your boyfriend is quite handsome. I wonder which family he's from. The Yang family of Hexi. What? And Xian freezes on the spot. He even starts to stutter. The Yang family of Hexi. The ones who are always the richest in the capital. The ones who can actually stand toe-to-toe with the Mu family. Yeah. When I give him a firm answer, he suddenly clutches his forehead. His body sways unsteadily. He almost collapses right there. The Yang family of Hexi has an incredibly deep foundation. Everyone in the inner circles knows that the Yang family has a young master who rarely shows his face. Everyone assumed he was just average looking and that's why they kept him hidden. No one ever expected that I would be this outstanding. My background and my looks completely crush him in every way. In an instant, he loses all his confidence to compete. Just then, Lu Ruyan returns after seeing off the guests. She happens to overhear the conversation. Her eyes are full of amazement as they land on me. So, this is the rumored young master of the Yang family. Truly the most eye-catching golden boy in the capital. Thanks for the compliment. She smiles and reaches out for a handshake. But the moment I lift my hand, Mu Xingwan's grip on my wrist tightens even more. Liu Ruyan looks at her helplessly. Mu Xingwan's eyes are sharp and full of warning. I'm just making a friend. I'm getting married soon anyway. Is it really necessary to be this protective? Even if you're getting married, you should still keep your distance from the opposite sex. Liu Ruyan is caught between laughter and tears. This powerful, composed businesswoman is actually this possessive in private. I've been helping you entertain guests all afternoon. My throat is bone dry. Come over to my place for some red wine later. We can put on some face masks and relax. Mu Xingwan immediately turns to me to ask for my opinion. I just shrug and nod. Young Master Yang is much more generous. The three of us are about to leave, but Xian, who had been holding it in, steps forward with a flushed face. He makes one last desperate attempt to test the truth. Are you really Miss Mu's boyfriend? Before I can even open my mouth, Mu Xingwan speaks up without a second's hesitation. Of course. We've been together for years. Our relationship is extremely stable. However, Xian thinks he's found a flaw in that. He's been asking around for a long time. Everyone insisted that Mu Xingwan was single. It's impossible. A secret boyfriend of many years wouldn't just pop out of nowhere. Besides, a union between two such powerful families should have been publicized. There's no way they'd keep it hidden. He's certain that I'm just a temporary stand-in she dragged here to block him. So, he turns to Lu Ruyan. His tone is pleading. President Lu, may I join you at your residence as well? She's never been one to turn people away. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Mu Xingwan staring at me intensely. She's clearly waiting for me to act jealous, but I decide to pretend I don't understand her hint. After that, the group sets off. Lu Ruyan drives. Mu Xingwan takes the passenger seat, and Xian and I sit side by side in the back. And Xian is determined. He's going to use this ride to expose my fake identity as the boyfriend. He puts on a friendly face, but there are knives hidden in his eyes. Young Master Yang, how long have you and Miss Mu been together? We've been childhood sweethearts. We officially started dating once we became adults. Then do you know her well enough? I know everything about her. In the front seat, Lu Ruyan hears this, and shoots a mischievous glance at Mu Xingwan. She lets out a playful, mocking hum. Mu Xingwan immediately gives a cold warning. Focus on the driving, and Xian pushes further, step by step. Can I ask a few questions to verify that? Ask whatever you want. And Xian is full of confidence. He drops the ultimate test. Miss Mu's height, weight, birthday, zodiac sign. You know all of them? I paused for a split second. I never expected that he would actually go out of his way to collect all this basic information so clearly. Between 160 and 165 centimeters, she used to be 40 kilograms. Her birthday is the same as mine, Gemini. My answers are clear and organized. I even mentioned the subtle changes in her weight recently. With extreme precision, the confidence on Xian's face instantly begins to crumble and fade away. In the front seat, Mu Xingwan is feeling incredibly satisfied. Even her tense expression softens into something gentle. But Xian grits his teeth. He throws out his final trump card. Then what's her favorite color? Pink. Xian is suddenly ecstatic. He thinks he's finally caught me in a lie. Wrong. She prefers blue and white. You don't even know that. How could you have been dating for years? Looking at his smug face, I speak up slowly, looking completely innocent, but she always says my lips are so pink, and that she loves them, especially. As soon as the words leave my mouth, the entire car falls into a dead silence. In the rearview mirror, Mu Xingwan is staring at me intently. There's a dark current swirling in her eyes, and Xian is stung by this sudden display of affection. His face turns bright red. He forces himself to keep attacking. Then do you know her underwear size? I widen my eyes in feigned shock. You even collect private measurements like that? Of course. His voice is clearly wavering. I lightly tap my finger against my knee. I act as if I'm extremely embarrassed. From the time we were kids until now, I know her size at every stage. I'm not sure which period you're asking about. Such a blunt answer hits Xian's nerves like a sledgehammer. He's left speechless, struggling for a long time, but he can't squeeze out a single word. Just then, Lu Ruyan, in the front seat, lets out another amused chuckle at the drama. Through the rearview mirror, Mu Xingwan's gaze becomes even more profound. She presses her tongue against her red lips. The way she's looking at me, it's like she wants to eat me alive. I just sit there with a clear, innocent face. I blink my bright eyes. I press Xian. Do you have any more questions? No. He's fuming with suppressed rage. He turns away, completely giving up. Seeing that I've finally handled this little fanboy, I secretly give myself a victory sign in my head. But when I look up, I accidentally lock eyes with Mu Xingwan in the rearview mirror again. Her gaze is incredibly aggressive. I'm genuinely confused. I clearly passed every single question on the test. Why does the young lady look so upset instead? In a flash, the sports car pulls up smoothly in front of the Lu residence. As soon as everyone gets out, and Xian looks at Mu Xingwan and me, standing naturally close to each other. He clenches his fists, deciding to make one last stand. Fine. Since you're a couple, why don't you kiss right here in front of me? If I see it with my own eyes, I promise I'll never bother you again. The lollipop in my mouth almost falls to the ground. This guy's logic is seriously bizarre. I instinctively look at Mu Xingwan for help. I never expected that in the depths of her eyes, there would be a flicker of unmasked anticipation. She's clearly waiting for me to agree. Not a chance. She's definitely doing this just to mess with me. I immediately cough twice. I act flustered, my ears turning slightly red. Sorry, we're not used to being intimate in front of others. As I speak, I secretly use some force and give her lower back a sharp pinch. I'm signaling her to hurry up and smooth things over. However, my refusal only makes a weird hope reignite in Xian's eyes. Just then, Lu Ruyan puts away her car keys and steps in to break the deadlock. Don't make it hard on them. A certain someone was in the car just now, and her boyfriend's flirting almost made her lose control. After that, she drags away Xian, the ultimate third wheel. I finally let out a long sigh of relief. Mu Xingwan, your fanboy has a seriously wild imagination. He dares to ask for the most ridiculous things, but Mu Xingwan doesn't seem to care at all. She's not just thinking about Xian. She's staring intently at my face. I just realized I haven't fully figured you out yet. Who else could possibly know me better than you? You're hiding a lot of surprises I didn't know about. A faint smile plays on her lips. She can't hide her good mood. I keep chasing her for an explanation, but she deliberately stays silent. Next, the group enters the Lu residence. We're greeted by a private lounge spanning hundreds of square meters. The atmosphere is set by dim, moody lighting and luxury decor. My eyes light up instantly. Lu Ruyan efficiently sets up a two-player, motion-controlled game. She tosses a controller to Mu Xingwan. Do you know how to play? Let's do a team battle. Before she even finishes, and Xian immediately raises his hand. I want to be on Miss Mu's team. In your dreams. I step forward quickly. I grab Mu Xingwan's arm and cling to it. I start acting like a brat. I want to be on Xingwan's team too. The moment my warm, solid body presses against her, Mu Xingwan hesitates to make a choice. I secretly lift my foot and stomp hard on her shoe. I lower my voice, speaking through gritted teeth. You're doing this on purpose. You're enjoying being fought over by two guys, aren't you? But in the next second, she whispers right into my ear. I only enjoy being fought over by you. Her warm breath brushes against my ear, and a spark of irritation flares in my heart. I went through all that trouble to help her ward off that guy, and not only is she enjoying it, she actually dares to take the chance to tease me. I'm about to let go in a huff, when Mu Xingwan suddenly reaches out and wraps her arm around my shoulder. With a forceful, undeniable strength, she pulls me tightly into her embrace. Of course I'm choosing my baby. Her cool, mature voice is laced with a hint of laziness. Those two words are like a powerful electric current, instantly surging from my ear throughout my body. My whole body goes numb. I freeze on the spot, completely losing my train of thought. Just then, Lu Ruyan lets out a cold laugh. She tosses a single controller to Xian. Looks like you're stuck on my team. As soon as Lu Ruyan finishes speaking, and Xian is so angry he secretly clenches his fist. Mu Xingwan turns her head and asks if I've played before. Then the game starts. The complex special effects immediately make both Xian and me feel dizzy. But then Xian grips his controller and looks at Mu Xingwan expectantly. Miss Mu, could you show me the ropes and teach me the controls? I can see right through him. He hasn't given up yet. So, I sit down right next to Mu Xingwan. I draw out my words, acting like a spoiled brat. I've never played this either. Won't you teach me, please? Mu Xingwan immediately takes the controller. She patiently explains the button functions. However, just listening to words isn't enough to remember. Can you sit close and show me hand on hand? I deliberately make my voice sound pitiful. Right under Xian's intense, watchful gaze, I simply go with the flow and sit down. I sit right next to Mu Xingwan, practically in her lap. It's much easier to learn when we're this close. The moment I settle in, Mu Xingwan's leg muscles suddenly tense up. A flush of red creeps onto her cheeks, and Xian almost jumps out of his skin. He stares at me with pure disdain. Lu Ruyan leans to the side, enjoying the show. But I'm not done stirring the pot. I gently wiggle my body and urge her to continue. As a result, this unconscious little movement sends Mu Xingwan's body temperature skyrocketing. Her heart and mind are completely occupied by the restless me in her arms. Within just 2 minutes, her game character dies 3 times in a row. I can't help but feel suspicious. Are you actually any good at this? Those few words instantly trigger Mu Xingwan's competitive streak. A dangerous, dark shade flickers in her cool eyes. Watch closely and see if I'm good or not. Immediately after, her finger movements become incredibly smooth and sharp. Her combos flow like water. I clap and cheer with excitement. I let out a crisp, Sister Wan, but that title causes her to completely lose her grip on rationality. Don't be so proud. Her voice is tight and trembling. She tosses the controller aside, refusing to play another second. I tease her, saying her coolness didn't even last 3 seconds. But those words become the final straw that breaks her. Mu Xingwan's arms suddenly exert force. She pulls me tightly by the waist, pressing me into her chest. Don't move. Let me catch my breath. She buries her head deep into the side of my neck. She whispers my name in a suppressed voice. Jian Jian. That voice is soft and alluring. It makes half of my body go completely numb. I instinctively give a soft reply. In response, she cups my chin with her hand. She lowers her head slightly. It looks like she's about to press her lips against mine. And Xian, standing nearby, seeing her completely lost in the moment, turns pale with rage. He grits his teeth and storms out of the gaming room. At the same time, Lu Ruyan can't stand the cloying atmosphere anymore either. She makes an excuse and beats a hasty retreat. Seeing that the unwanted suitor is finally gone, I feel a wave of relief. I immediately stand up from her lap. Okay, Xingwan, it's done. The pest has been successfully driven away. We don't need to keep acting anymore. However, the kiss that was about to happen comes to an abrupt halt. Mu Xingwan's entire body stiffened. The intense emotions swirling in her eyes haven't faded yet. Her legs are pressed tightly together in an unnatural way. The skin beneath her collar is flushed with a deep, embarrassed crimson. Just as I'm about to ask what's wrong, she suddenly turns and bolts into the bathroom. Seeing her run away like this, exactly like when she was dodging that snake in the garden, my anger starts to flare up. That jerk? Is she seriously disgusted because I sat on her? Is her germophobia acting up again? This is too much. I'm definitely going to settle the score with her today. But the bathroom door is locked tight. I can only vent my frustration on the game. I play 3 rounds in a row, A full half-hour passes. The door finally opens from the inside. Mu Xingwan's expression has calmed down quite a bit, except for a suspicious hint of red at the corners of her eyes. It looks like she barely managed to suppress a surge of extreme emotion. I'm fuming and about to snap at her, when she suddenly calls me by my full name. Yang Jian. Her brow is slightly furrowed. Now that the heat has faded, her tone is uncharacteristically serious. You're not a child anymore. You need to have boundaries between genders. You can't just go around pressing yourself so close to girls. Hearing this, I'm completely stunned. So, she's actually blaming me for being too close to her just now. I went through all that trouble to help her get rid of that guy, and she has the nerve to turn around and criticize me? I clench my fists. I stomp my foot in frustration. I only did that to help you deal with Ancian. If it were anyone else, I wouldn't even touch them. As soon as I say that, the light in her cool eyes instantly reignites. Is it true? You're only willing to be like that with me. I reach out and poke her shoulder irritably. Who else would it be? I never expected that my outburst would look like a cute, sulking puppy in her eyes. In the next second, she suddenly grabs my wrist. She pulls me into her arms with a sudden burst of strength. I'm sorry, Jian Jian. Her eyes are full of the joy of regaining something precious. She apologizes over and over. It turns out she was just afraid that this special closeness was something I would give to others too. I turn my face away, trying to push her off, but she only holds me tighter. Tell me how to make it up to you. I'll do anything. Hearing that, I instantly stop struggling. I'm determined to set a boundary. Then let me hear you call me Big Brother. Mu Xingwan has refused to call me that since we were kids. I'm certain she'll find it difficult, but she agrees without hesitation. Then she leans in close. Her warm breath brushes against my cheek. Jian Jian. Little brother. My brain goes buzz as I realize what she said. I instantly explode. Mu Xingwan, but it's useless. I've just added another crime to my list. She lets out a low chuckle. Her eyes are filled with an unmaskable, obsessive doting. She's got me right where she wants me. I'll do anything you want as long as it's not this. He deliberately twisted my words. I was so annoyed I kicked him. What a total rogue. Just then, a sudden noise came from outside the door. It was Ancian, who had run out earlier. The more she thought about it, the more suspicious she felt. She actually came back. She peered through the crack in the door, staring intently at us. Her teeth ached with extreme jealousy. But then she completely broke down, because she heard our conversation loud and clear. Jian Jian, let's go home, okay? Our baby at home must be hungry by now. The nanny can feed him. You spoil him too much. He only recognizes you as his father. Outside the door, Ancian couldn't take it anymore. She let out a gasp and turned to run away. Her mind was filled with scandalous images of the two of them, having a child at such a young age. Hearing the noise inside the room, we both looked toward the door. All we saw was her terrified figure fleeing. It finally dawned on me. Did she misunderstand something? Mu Xingwan's lips curled into a smirk. She didn't hear wrong. Little Calico is our baby after all. A fur baby is still a baby. In the blink of an eye, evening arrived. The Kyoto University Forum was suddenly flooded with 2 viral posts. The image for the top trending post was that iconic scene from the rainy night at the school gate. In the picture, a limited edition Koenigsegg sat in the rain. Mu Xingwan held the umbrella solely over me, while Hao Xushang stood nearby, completely drenched. The comment section exploded instantly. Countless people chimed in, exclaiming how the eldest Miss Mu's confession was dripping with atmosphere. They used to say she was cold and uninterested in romance. But now, her heart beat for only one person. Not only that, many others lamented that the era of those who had pursued Hao Xushang for years was likely coming to a permanent end. After all, with the Mu family's status,